Chapter 2023 Speculations 1. This fact caused Lung Ruoxue to feel exceptionally depressed. After searching for several days, he couldn't even see the shadow of the main body. He finally confirmed a clone, but it still didn't move. Didn't this mean that he could only look at the delicious food in front of him, but couldn't eat it? Of course, the blood cherry blossom was definitely not a delicacy. However, he still could not touch it. Sister, let's leave this place first. Qingju understood his sister's feelings very well, but now was not a good time to make a move on this clone. If he was discovered by Fog Ice and became vigilant, he would not be able to continue searching for his main body. He was afraid that his opportunity to stay in the Divine Master would be taken away. Are we just going to leave like this? That's the woman's clone. After hearing Qingju's words, Ao Jie said with some reluctance, "What else can I do? Don't tell me you want to destroy this clone." Uncle Long raised his eyebrows and said indifferently. In fact, he was also sullen, but he had no choice. He couldn't move his clone. Otherwise, Wu Xian would definitely come. Their main purpose in coming to the Divine Lord's Manor was to find her original body, not her clone. Ao Jie was very honest. The strength of Fog Ice's clone and the main body was very different. If one of her clones was destroyed, it would affect the overall strength of Fog Ice. By then, it would be relatively easier to deal with Fog Ice. It was definitely not easy to cultivate a clone with such strength. If one of her clones was lost, wouldn't the woman be heartbroken? He thought to himself evilly. What he didn't know was that Wu Chun had already lost a clone. Mist Ripple had a total of 3 bodies, one of which was her main body and one of her doppelgangers. When she had been cultivating with her doppelgangers, she had split her strength into 3 parts. The 2 doppelgangers each had 30% of her total strength, while her main body had 40%. After so many years, the 3 bodies had been cultivating on their own, so the strength she had transferred to the doppelgangers had been restored long ago. The 2 doppelgangers now had the cultivation of hierarch level, and their strength was only slightly weaker than her main body. Losing any of his clones was something that Wu Yin could not bear. One should know that her 2 clones could exist independently and also merge with her. As independent clones, they already had the strength of a reverent god level. Once the 3 of them merged into one, her strength would definitely surpass that of a reverent god level. This was the main reason why Ao Jie wanted to destroy her clone. However, the timing was not right. Hence, Ao Jie could only think. With regret in his heart, Qingju led the group out of the secret underground room. Otherwise, the longer they stayed, the more depressed they would be. Before they left, Lung Ruoxue still dropped a small gift into the blood pool for Wu Jing. However, the little thing she dropped this time was different from the previous ones. Soon, they came to another underground secret room. This was also the last place Xian Yi told them where Wu Xiao was hiding. After patiently waiting for the guards to change shifts, Qingju sneaked in with everyone. However, to their disappointment, the flower here was also a fake clone. Lung Ruoxue was filled with anger as she threw a lot of things into the blood pool. When Qingju saw this, he could not help but feel embarrassed. He knew that his sister was angry, but she had no way to vent her anger. Hence, she could only vent it on this fake clone. Fortunately, her sister was still rational. The things she threw in would not take effect so quickly. However, once those things took effect, Fog would definitely be flustered. After looking through the places Xian Yi had provided, the location of the Fog Ripple's main body was still a mystery. After some discussion, they decided to leave the Divine Master's estate first and have good rest. Then, they would decide on their next move. After making the decision, Qingju brought Lung Ruoxue and the rest out of the Divine Master's residence without a sound. Wu Han, who had been monitoring the secret room with his spiritual sense, saw that the other party had not revealed a single trace after so many days and couldn't help but wonder if he had made a mistake. However, she didn't think that she had sensed it wrongly. So what was going on? Unable to figure it out, she temporarily withdrew her divine sense and no longer continued to stare at that place. In any case, unless the aura of those strangers no longer appeared, As long as they made a move, she would definitely notice. After Lung Ruoxue and the others returned to the inn, they immediately appeared in the room. Uncle Long, Ao Jia, and Lung Ruoxue were all a little depressed. The demon could only smile and comfort them when he saw them like this. We've checked those places. This result is quite good. After all, it's not that easy for us to find the main body of the rhyme ice. And Uncle Long nodded in agreement. I am just a little regretful. It would be great if I could get rid of her original body. Ao Jia was still thinking about this. I also want to. However, if we were to get rid of her main body, I'm afraid that we would be wanted by the entire divine realm. That's because she would definitely go crazy. Uncle Long said indifferently. What do you mean again? When Ao Jia heard the word again, he immediately became alert and asked. In the secret realm, we once killed a blood cherry blossom. I believe that was one of her clones. Uncle Long guessed. The blood cherry blossom was very powerful, and it was definitely not something her fake clones could compare to. However, the flower had died to Shui Air's flames. Arg, there was such a thing? How come I didn't hear anything about it? Ao Jia asked in confusion after hearing what Uncle Long had said. Logically speaking, Wu Chun should be furious after losing a clone. However, he didn't notice anything at all. This was unbelievable. How could there be no news? The black-robed men of the Rhyme Mist sect have already come to find us. However, I think the reason why she didn't specifically target us is mainly because she can't be sure who killed her clone. After all, those who knew the truth at that time wouldn't say a word, and most of the black-robed men she arranged in the secret realm have died. Otherwise, why would she have bided her time? Uncle Long analyzed. However, he didn't think it was a good thing that Wu Xian had been biding her time, because this meant that Wu Xian was very patient. Such a person was definitely not easy to deal with. Uncle Long, you're wrong. The reason why Wu Luan hasn't made a move is not because she doesn't know who killed her clone, but because she's afraid of the punishment of the laws of heaven and earth. As the temporary manager of the divine realm, if she starts a massacre in the divine realm, the laws of heaven and earth won't let her off. Otherwise, I'm afraid she would have attacked us long ago. However, with the restrictions of the laws of heaven and earth, she can't deal with us openly and can only do it in secret. Therefore, she won't act rashly until she's certain who killed her clone. The demon explained with a faint smile. There's such a thing? Doesn't that mean we can use the loopholes in the laws of the world to deal with her? Ao Jia's eyes lit up, and he said excitedly, if that's the case, then the woman's attack would be self-defense. The demon reminded. Chapter 2024, Speculations 2. When Uncle Dragon heard Ao Jia's words, he looked at him as if he was an idiot and said, if everyone can attack the Master God, and the Master God can only be beaten, would you be willing to be the Master God? He knew very well that the laws of the world forbade divine masters from massacring the divine world, not because they wanted to protect the interests of the people of the divine world, but purely for the sake of the divine world's stability. However, the laws of the world would not forcefully restrict certain things from happening, or else the incident from over 100,000 years ago would not have happened. However, Wu Yin was obviously afraid of the rules of heaven and earth. Otherwise, she would not have been able to endure it. To them, this was definitely a good thing. At least, it gave Shui a chance to improve her strength. In fact, Uncle Long was right. The laws of the heaven and earth existed for the peace of the heaven and earth. However, the laws of the heaven and earth also followed the laws of nature, which determined the superior and the inferior. Therefore, the people of the divine world could have conflicts or even kill each other from time to time, but the divine masters could not easily attack the gods. After all, the divine masters' strength had long surpassed reverent God, and they were the masters of the divine world. If the divine masters wanted to attack the people of the divine world, they only needed to think about it. Thus, the laws of the heaven and earth had restrictions on the divine masters in this aspect. There had to be a reasonable reason. Otherwise, the divine master would be punished by the rules of heaven and earth. As for the severity, it would depend on the degree of the attack. Otherwise, the Fog Phoenix would not have cultivated a group of men in black to sacrifice. The fog phoenix would basically send them to do all the shady things. According to the understanding of the laws of heaven and earth, those people were not from the divine Lord's estate, so they naturally did not belong to the fog phoenix. Therefore, this could be considered a small loophole in the laws of heaven and earth. Fortunately, those people were not invincible in the immortal realm. Otherwise, the people of the immortal realm would be in great misery and suffering. However, there were two situations in which Wu Yin could take action. If a god started a rebellion or disrespected the Divine Master, disdained the Divine Master's dignity, and provoked the Divine Master could kill the god. After all, a Divine Master's dignity could not be blasphemed. On the other hand, if a Master God was killed by a god, the rules of heaven and earth would also stand by and watch, because they follow the natural law of the strong being respected and the weak being the superior. Actually, Wu Jing already knew that it was Lung Ruoxue and the others who had destroyed the mystic realm that she had painstakingly built and killed her clone. However, as her mystic realm could not be exposed to the public, she could only suffer in silence and let Lung Ruoxue and the others live a carefree life for a while. However, once she had the chance, she would definitely not let off those who had once participated in it. And now, she absolutely hated Lung Ruoxue to the core. After all, she had heard from Black One that Lung Ruoxue's flames were very powerful. She was also her greatest nemesis. Hence, she did not wish for Lung Ruoxue to exist in the god world. However, she was still not aware that Lung Ruoxue was Yes' disciple. Otherwise, she would not be able to tolerate Lung Ruoxue anymore. However, Lung Ruoxue had no intention of appearing in front of her now. This time, she had no other choice. Who asked her senior brother to knead the petals of the Mist Ripple's main body? Seeing that Ao Jia's face fell after hearing Uncle Long's words, Lung Ruoxue sighed softly and said, "Uncle Ao, I understand your desire to get rid of Rime Ice. However, that woman is not easy to deal with. Therefore, we have to make a long-term plan. The most important thing now is to find the real body of Rime Ice and then steal her petals." Yes, Lung Ruoxue had planned to steal it. After all, there was a huge difference in their strength. It was unrealistic for them to make a move on FOG Nation now. Furthermore, Fog Ripple seemed to have many allies. If those people or beasts were to join forces, they would have no chance of winning. However, it was not an easy task to steal the petals of her body without alerting the fog, because the woman's vigilance was too high. Thinking of this, she had a headache. It's easier said than done to find her original body. However, I don't understand. We've already found her clone, so why haven't we seen her true body? That guy Xian, he has lived in the Divine Master's estate for so many years. You should be very confident in these places. However, other than finding one of Wu Chen's clones, we have gained nothing. I found her real clone. How can I get nothing? As for her real body, I think it's normal that we can't find it. After all, it's the most important part of her body, and she won't let anyone find it easily. The demon laughed. A plant's body was extremely important to plant-type cultivators. After all, as long as the body was not destroyed, no matter how badly injured she would recover sooner or later. However, once the body was destroyed and she was injured, it would not be easy for her to recover. There was even the danger of her death. The existence of the main body made it so that the fog could never die. This was one of the characteristics of plants. Lung Ruoxue had also thought of this point. Hence, she contacted the cute little fellows in the bracelet and asked them about their opinions on her original body. "Sister, the main body is very important to us plants. As long as the main body doesn't die, no matter how badly injured we are, we won't die. At most, we can cultivate from the beginning. Therefore, we will hide our true bodies well, in places where others will not find us." The small fire ginseng led the way. However, Lung Ruoxue was still skeptical about his words. If she remembered correctly, this little fellow's true form was not hidden in a place that others could not find. "Sister, that's because of Zaya's existence, so I'm not afraid. If those bad people dare to have any ideas about me, Xiao will bite them to death." Sensing Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, Small Fire Ginseng hurriedly explained, his cute little face still carrying a touch of grievance. That's true. Lung Ruashua laughed awkwardly. How could she have forgotten how sensitive these little fellows were? She could not hide her thoughts from them. However, sister, although I have a companion beast, once I encounter an unfathomably strong master, I can only let him slaughter me. After all, I'm still too weak and can't hide my original body well, and it will take many years for me to grow up. Small Fire Ginseng's mood suddenly became low as he said faintly, heavenly treasures like them were the darlings of heaven and earth. However, it was extremely difficult for them to cultivate. In addition, their medicinal value was extremely high. Their whole body was a treasure. Therefore, many of their kind did not have the opportunity to develop spiritual consciousness. They were discovered and eaten by humans or beasts. This was the greatest sorrow of heavenly treasures. However, it was fortunate that he met his sister. Therefore, although he was not in a good mood when he thought of other kinds of people, he thought of his sister's love and care. His mood improved again. Now, he really hoped that more companions would be able to stay at his sister's place. This was definitely a paradise for heavenly treasures like them. His sister would not be like other people who only wanted to eat them, and they could help her. After all, every time they advanced, some leaves would fall off, and those were enough to be used to refine pills. Chapter 2025, Speculations 3. After having such a thought, the Small Fire Ginseng really managed to hook up with quite a number of natural treasures to live in Lung Ruakshu's Bengal. Of course, this was definitely not without Xiuqiu's help. And such a combination was also known as the treasure hunting duo by those who knew. Of course, this was all for the future. After Lung Ruashua heard what Small Fire Ginseng said, she quickly consoled the little fellow. Little what? Those are all in the past. In the future, Big Sister will protect you and will not let anyone bully you. Don't worry. Yes, yes. Hearing this, Small Fire Ginseng fiercely nodded. At this time, the other little guys also interrupted. Sister, you will protect us too, right? Of course, Lung Ruashua promised. She felt a little helpless in her heart. She had wanted to ask them where their main bodies were usually hidden, but why had it become her guarantee meeting? However, when she saw the happy smiles of these white and chubby children, her mood improved a lot. These little guys were really too cute. When she thought of this, she could not help but change her mind. Little Fire appeared in her arms. As soon as Little Fire appeared, Jie's eyes immediately widened and his mouth was half open. Whose child was this? The fire-attributed spiritual chi on his body was so dense. The moment Uncle Long saw Little Fire, he directly snatched him away from Lung Ruakshu's arms. Seeing this, Lung Ruashua could only move another one out. This time, it was the 10,000-year fire lotus. The moment that little fellow saw Lung Ruashua and the demon, he immediately called out affectionately, Father, Mother, I missed you guys so much. Jie's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. He could not help but ask, aren't you two not married? She already had a child? It's still. However, the fire-attributed spiritual chi on this little fellow's body is also unbelievably dense. Hearing Jie's words, Lung Ruashua could not help but roll her eyes and said, You're thinking too much. I didn't give birth to this little thing. After explaining, she regretted it a little. Why was she explaining all this to this beast? Jie. However, not only did Jie not understand what Lung Ruashua said, he was even more confused. Especially after he heard Lung Ruashua say, I did not give birth to this little thing. He turned his gaze to the evildoer. Furthermore, it was a rather peculiar gaze. His face was even red with the words, You're quite bold, written on it. When the demon saw this, he really wanted to give Jie a beating. However, he could bear with it since there were children around. However, he would remember this suspicion. At this moment, Uncle Long kicked Jie and said with a straight face, What nonsense are you thinking about? These two little fellows are born from the heavens and earth. Born from nature. Could it be that they are? The words treasures of heaven and earth were swallowed back into Ao Jie's stomach under Lung Ruoxu's warning gaze. However, after he knew that these two children were treasures of heaven and earth, his eyes immediately lit up. He stared at the two cute children without blinking, and the little fire ginseng's hair stood on end from his stare. Wretched uncle, don't look at us like that. Sister won't let you eat us. Small fire ginseng angrily clenched his small fist and warned. Upon hearing this, Uncle Long burst into laughter. Then he looked at Ao Jie teasingly and said, Old man Ao, I won't let you eat them either. I didn't say that I was going to eat them. I was just too curious. After living for so long, this is the first time I've seen a natural treasure that can transform into a human form. But what's up with this little guy? Ao Jie pointed at fire and asked with a puzzled look. This little thing is the 10,000-year fire lotus. It likes this look. Uncle Long shot a glance at the little fire lotus and explained on Lung Ruoxu's behalf. He had always been in the medium, so he had long become very familiar with these cute little things. As long as one was older, they would not be able to resist the temptation of these cute little things. Hence, he had long treated these little babies as his own juniors and doted on them. This look is quite special, Ao Jie asked in a daze. Previously, when he suspected that this little thing was the child of Lung Ruoxu and that demonic man, he did not think that it was a problem to give birth to a little beast. However, when he heard that it was the 10,000-year fire lotus, he could not remain calm. It was clearly a plant, so why did it transform into a beast? When little fire lotus heard this, it was extremely happy and even started rolling around in Lung Ruoxu's embrace. Can I hug you? Looking at the cute appearance of the little fire lotus, Ao Jie's hands were a little itchy. When Lung Ruoxu heard this, she immediately handed the small fire lotus over. However, the small fire lotus was not shy with strangers at all. After staring at Ao Jie for a while, it fell asleep in Ao Jie's arms. Seeing the small fire lotus in such a state, Ao Jie could not believe that this was really a 10,000 years fire lotus. It's asleep. Ao Jie pointed at the little fire lotus and said in a daze. We saw it. Uncle Long rolled his eyes and thought, why did this guy suddenly become so dumb? AI, he definitely did not know this person. How embarrassing. Uncle Ao will send her back to sleep. After greeting Ao Jie, Lung Ruoxu had an idea and sent fire back to her bracelet. As for the small fire ginseng, she left it outside for the time being. Uncle Long, Uncle Ao, it's getting late. You should rest early. Lung Ruoxu continued. Yes, little Hua will sleep with me tonight. After Uncle Dragon finished speaking, he took the small fire ginseng and returned to his room. Seeing this, Ao Jie also left. Seeing that there were no outsiders, the evildoer immediately pulled Lung Ruoxu into his arms. Shui, don't think too much. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Well, definitely be able to find the true body of the mist. The demon knew that Shui was depressed. She was so relaxed just now because she didn't want the two old men to worry. Yes, demon. I'm thinking, even if we really find the main body of Rime Ice, do we have the confidence to steal the flower petals from her? What are the chances of success? Lung Ruoxu could not help but ask. Shui, where there's a will, there's a way. No matter what, he'll find a way to help you get the petals from that woman's body. So you have to be confident. Although it's difficult for us to deal with her with our current strength, we can outwit her. Don't think that woman has lived for a long time. She's actually very stupid, so she's easily deceived. The demon said calmly and confidently. Is she stupid? Lung Ruoxu asked doubtfully. It seemed like someone had said that the woman was cunning. However, Lung Ruoxu also knew that the demon called that woman stupid mainly because he was afraid that she would be under too much pressure. So, she had to appreciate this favor. Of course she's stupid. Perhaps in the eyes of others, she's cunning. But in my eyes, she's stupid. You're an ungrateful wolf. The demon said with a look of disdain. Lung Ruoxu laughed lightly after hearing the demon's words. Suddenly, An idea flashed through her mind, and she asked again, "Evildoer, why do you think there was no one guarding the door of the first secret room we went to? There was no array formation either. Why? You suspect that place?" The demon raised his eyebrows and asked, "Well, I didn't pay much attention to it before, but now that I think about it, I feel that something is wrong. That's the place Xian he provided us with. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't have told us. But we didn't see anything when we went there. It was empty. But as soon as we entered, Wu Chun discovered it. Don't you think it's too incredible? As a divine master, why would she pay so much attention to a secret chamber that had been empty for a long time? Is this normal?" Lung Ruoxua voiced out her doubts, then looked at the evildoer with anticipation. "It's not normal. If it were me, I wouldn't pay attention to a useless secret room unless there's something very important there." The demon said after thinking carefully. "Something very important? Her true form?" Lung Ruoxua guessed. As she said this, her heart was thumping excitedly. If Wu Xian's real body was really in that secret chamber as they had guessed, then she was really smart. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is also the safest place. And this smokescreen method of Wuhan could not be said to not be brilliant. There were several places in the Divine Master's estate that were heavily guarded. It was easy to guess that there was something important in there. However, a secret room that was unguarded and without the protection of an array could be easily overlooked. It was also because of this that it was the safest to place his main body there. But what did she hide her real body in that secret room? Lung Ruoxua knew that if her guess was correct, there should be a universe in that unremarkable secret room. It was a pity that she didn't know about it. That's right, you. She had you. Perhaps you could find some clues there. You didn't know if your see-through skill could see through that secret room. Lung Ruoxua wasn't too sure about this. At this moment, Yes' voice rang out in Lung Ruoxua's heart. "Master, I can try. You took the initiative. Let's try it out tomorrow." Lung Ruoxua said impatiently. "And," you nodded. At this moment, the evildoer beside Lung Ruoxua could clearly sense the change in her mood. He could not help but ask, "You have a good idea? There it is. Tomorrow, we'll go to that secret room again and let you see if there's anything inside." Lung Ruoxua said excitedly. Chapter 2026. An Unfavorable Start. 1. The demon nodded after hearing Lung Ruoxua's words. Even though he knew from the bottom of his heart that it would be dangerous, he would not reject Shui Er's idea. The next day, Lung Ruoxua told Uncle Long and Ao Jia about the same thing. She even changed her gender for safety reasons. When Uncle Long and Ao Jia saw that Lung Ruoxua had turned from a woman to a man, their eyes widened and their faces were filled with disbelief. Was this considered a huge transformation into a living person? No, was it a big change in sex? Shui was clearly a woman, so how did she turn into a man in the blink of an eye? Isn't this too horrifying? The two of them were dumbfounded. He couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. The evildoer, who understood the truth, was also quite depressed when he saw Shui Er's new image. Ever since Qing Ju had this ability, Shui had always been curious and wanted to try being a man. If he had not stopped her, she would probably... But now, for their safety and to hide her identity more thoroughly, Shui had no choice but to change her personality. However, this was not what he was most depressed about. What he was most depressed about was that once Shui changed her gender, she would not be able to change back in a short period of time. It was not that Shui did not want to change back, but Green Vessel skill had a 3-month effective period. Therefore, it was impossible for her to change back immediately after changing her gender once. In this regard, Green Vessel was also helpless. However, he could swear that he had definitely seen the smugness and gloating in Qing Ju's eyes. Wu, Shui. As long as he thought about how he would not be able to hold Shui Er's soft and delicate body for a few months, his heart would be in a dilemma. He did not want to be lovey-dovey with a man all day long. He could not accept it from the bottom of his heart. At the thought of this, the evildoer's gaze towards Shui became more and more resentful, while Lung Ruoxua was extremely embarrassed. She didn't expect that her gender change would be so thorough. Her tall mountain peak was gone and replaced by a flat plain. Not only that, she even sighed. In short, she was now a man, pure, extremely pure. She didn't miss out on any of the evildoers. Shuya, the evildoer, who had been conflicted and resentful for a long time, could not resist the urge to hug Lung Ruoxue. He stretched out his arms and pulled Lung Ruoxue into his embrace. He felt that the body in his arms was no longer as soft as before. The bouncy little peaks on his chest had also disappeared. He could not help but shiver. However, he did not let go. He would just treat Shui as an airport runway. A few months would pass by, because he really couldn't control himself from hugging Shui. As for Uncle Long and Ao Jie, who were still in a daze, they saw two men hugging each other tightly just as they regained their senses. They were in a mess again. This was really too hardcore. Although the two of them were not young, they were still very pure, especially Uncle Long. Even though he was quite happy when he opened the Yao family brothel and even planned to open the brothel, he was just saying it casually. It was more to punish others. If he really saw two men doing it, he would still not be able to take it. However, Lung Ruoxue and the evildoer were hugging each other as if there was no one else around. Even when Uncle Long and Ao Jie had regained their senses, they were still hugging each other. Seeing them like this, the corners of Uncle Long and Ao Jie's mouths twitched, and their foreheads were full of black lines. I say, you two are both men now. What's the point of hugging? Don't go too far, all right? Ao Jie couldn't take it anymore. Although he knew that Lung Ruoxue's real body was a woman, she was now a man after all. Hence, he was really going crazy. However, they couldn't deny that Lung Ruoxue's actions had indeed made them much safer. Others wouldn't easily suspect them. It is. Let go. What does it look like for two men to be hugging each other? Uncle Long was also going crazy. Ugh. After hearing the conversation between the two of them, Lung Ruoxue did not know what to say, because she could clearly feel that her relationship with the evildoer was being discriminated against. Sob, is gender really that important? All right, she was not a fujoshi. She admitted that gender was very important. However, although she was a man now, her core was a woman. Therefore, she did not have the self-awareness of being a man at all. If she was a woman disguised as a man, she might have paid more attention. But now, she had no intention of paying attention at all. Therefore, what Uncle Long and Ao Jie saw was a charming, devastatingly beautiful man looking at another slightly ugly man with deep affection. Between the two of them, Lung Ruoxue's character had changed after she had consumed the antidote for the disguise pill. Therefore, even though her face and figure had changed, she was still as beautiful as before, while the demon was still as ugly as before. Seeing this scene, the two of them shuddered at the same time. Then, they rushed forward and separated the two of them without hesitation. Lung Ruoxue was stunned when she saw their actions. Her beautiful face was still filled with confusion. Wasn't Uncle Long and Ao Jie overreacting? On the other hand, the demon glared at Uncle Dragon and Ao Jie in dissatisfaction and could not help but roar, "What are you guys doing? You two can't hug each other. You're both men now. All of you be good." The devilish anger made Uncle Long's heart tremble, but he still mustered his courage and said it. In any case, little brat, ye had told him to return to how he was in the past. So, at this time, he didn't care about the other party's identity as the secret mistress. He only wanted to separate the two people who were hugging each other like Siamese twins. Can't men hug each other? The evildoer raised his brows when he heard Uncle Long's words. Even though Shui was not as comfortable to hold as before, she was still his woman. Hence, gender was not important to him. However, Uncle Dragon and Ao Jie nodded their heads seriously after hearing his words. Seeing this, the demon smiled helplessly and said, "Shui is not a real man." "Yup, Uncle Long, am still a woman." Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. "A woman? How come I don't see any part of you that looks like a woman?" Uncle Long sized Lung Ruoxue up with a suspicious look. His temperament was similar, so he was probably the sissy people often called him, right? But their figures definitely didn't tee. However, Uncle Long admired the demon for being able to hug Lung Ruoxue when he saw her in this state. From this, it could be seen that his heart was very strong. AI. Lung Ruoxue could only sigh when she heard this. All right, she was a man now. Although she didn't want to admit it, her figure couldn't lie. At this moment, Small Fire Ginseng, who could feel Lung Ruoxue's depressed mood, interrupted. Sister, aren't you going to the Divine Master's estate? It should be time to set off. Hearing Small Fire Ginseng's words, Lung Ruoxue really wanted to hug that cute little doll and kiss him a few times. What a good change of topic. Otherwise, Uncle Dragon and Ao Jia would be a loss for a long time. She was so depressed that she almost missed such an important thing. Chapter 2027. An Unfavorable Start. 2. Following that, Lung Ruoxue had an idea. She brought everyone into the bracelet and green vessel, took them to the Divine Master's residence. This time, they headed straight for their destination. However, when they reached the door of the secret room, they did not enter immediately. Instead, they carefully observed the entire courtyard through the light screen. This side courtyard that seemed to have been abandoned for a long time was very clean. However, only the main room in the front courtyard had black-clothed men busy. Around this secret room, there was no one. In the bracelet, Lung Ruoxue and the other three sat in front of the light screen. They were surrounded by little beasts, and just like them, they were also staring at the light screen, hoping to find some clues. Among the four of them, only Ao Jia was not calm. Although he knew that there were many small beasts where he was, the small beasts rarely appeared in front of him during the days he was inside. However, this time, they appeared collectively. He could not help but feel surprised. However, if Ao Jia knew that these small beasts were only a small portion of Lung Ruoxue's beast army, would his jaw drop? On the other hand, Uncle Long was very calm. He was holding a silver-white wolf in his arms and looked very pleased. In fact, the main reason why Baby and the other beasts appeared today was to cheer for you. After all, they all knew that you was going to see through this place. Although they did not know if she would find anything, they had to come to support you. At this moment, you was standing on Lung Ruoxue's shoulder and was about to see through the light screen. Yes, sharp eyes flickered. Then, two dark rays of light shot out from his cold and sharp eyes and pierced through the light screen. But soon he stopped seeing through it. Master, I'm too far away. I can't see what's inside the secret room. You said gloomily. Ever since he had advanced to the 9th rank of the sacred beast realm, his ability to see through things had greatly increased. If it was outside, he would have no problem seeing through things 10,000 meters away. However, here, he couldn't even see through a wall. This result made him extremely depressed. However, he knew that this was no ordinary place. Then let's go into the secret room. Lung Ruoxue could feel Yes' dejected mood and gently stroked its feathers to comfort it. And, you nodded. It would be great if it could get inside to see through things. However, it would be more dangerous. Therefore, it had to be careful. Following that, Lung Ruoxue gave Qingju a look. Qingju understood and controlled the universal bracelet that had turned into dust to sneak into the secret chamber. After entering the secret room, Yu was ready. Just as he sent his transparent dark light out through the light screen, he felt a sharp pain in his head. Then his eyes began to hurt too. Then his vision turned black, and he could not see anything. Master, my eyes. Yu endured the pain and covered his eyes with his wings as he shouted. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue had also noticed that something was wrong with you. She hurriedly held it in her arms and asked with concern, "What's wrong with you?" Suddenly, she realized that Yes' eyes were bleeding. Lung Ruoxue's heart ached as she hurriedly took out a healing pill for you to consume. Are you feeling better?" Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. "It's better. It doesn't hurt anymore." You said hurriedly. However, it did not dare to tell Lung Ruoxue that its eyes could no longer see. "Sister, what do we do now?" When Qingju saw Yes' appearance, he guessed that you had been discovered by fog. It was obviously not a good time to continue investigating. Let's go back to the inn first, Lung Roashua said after some thought. She was still a little worried about you. Qingju nodded and immediately brought Lung Roashua and the rest back to the inn. Not long after Lung Roashua and the rest left the secret chamber, a beautiful lady in red appeared. This woman was Wu Xiao. Originally, after she felt the strangeness in the secret room, she was afraid that the person would run away, so she immediately launched a divine sense attack. Then, she rushed over. However, after arriving here, she angrily found that the person she had hit had disappeared. She was very sure that the person who sneaked into her secret room must have been injured. She was not slow in coming here, but that person still managed to escape. This fact made her extremely angry. Damn it! If she caught that person, she would definitely cut him into 8 pieces. Now, she was certain that someone had indeed snuck into her divine master's estate. Of course, it could also be a traitor. However, no matter who it was, she had to find out who it was. Since they dared to come here, they had to be prepared to die. Especially when she found this place, she would not let that person go. But she couldn't think of anyone who would have the guts to cause trouble in the Divine Master's estate. Perhaps it was time to clean up the Divine Master's residence. After thinking about this, Wu Chun immediately disappeared. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had also returned to the inn. Even though Lung Ruoxue felt a little helpless about today's fruitless return, she was more worried about you. After consuming the pill, you returned to his room and did not come out again. This made her feel a little uneasy. Baby, go and see you. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue called for her precious and instructed. Although she really wanted to go personally, she was afraid that you would only report the good news and not the bad news. There were some things that you would not be willing to tell her. Hence, it seemed that it would be easier for the beastie to communicate with each other at this moment. Yes, my lovely master. Baby responded and turned to look for you. Very quickly, Baby ran out of Yes' room and said to Lung Ruoxue, my lovely master, don't worry. I'm just a little tired and I'm resting. But I'll be with it. After saying that, it ran back to Yes' room. Sister, don't worry. I think you just suffered a little shock. You'll be fine. Qingju also came to Lung Ruoxue's side and consoled her. I hope so. Lung Ruoxue nodded, but she was still feeling uneasy. Something was not right with you. However, she respected his choice. As long as you did not tell her, she would not ask. She would not probe her beastie's thoughts. As she thought about this, the annoyed Lung Ruoxue pulled the demon back to the purple bamboo house. Uncle Dragon and Ao Jie chose to sit in the garden. AI. Uncle Long sighed. He didn't expect that the bird would be injured without seeing through anything. This was really a bad start. Old whale, why are you sighing? This little girl is already annoying enough, and you still want to be like this? Ao Jie couldn't stand it anymore. I thought the girl wasn't here. Uncle Long said listlessly. All right, she was not here. Then you can continue sighing. I'm going to see that little bird. After Ao Jie finished speaking, he stood up and walked towards Yes' room. Chapter 2028. An Unfavorable Start 3. Just as he walked out of the room, he heard voices coming from inside. Although he did not mean to eavesdrop, he could not help but want to know how little beastie interacted with each other in private. So, he was extremely depressed and decided to be a shameless eavesdropper. In Yes' room, other than the treasures, the Mei, Ling, Qi, and other beasts were all there. However, their faces were filled with worry. They all looked nervously at Feng Zhan, who was examining the feather, and asked questions at the same time. Grandpa Zhan, how is you? Is he all right? Grandpa Zhan, you have to think of a way. Grandpa, you am so pitiful. Please help it. The little beasts spoke one after another, and Feng Zhan's ears buzzed from hearing them. All of you shut up. No one is allowed to speak. Feng Zhan couldn't take it anymore. Although it was a phoenix, it knew a little about medicine. So, after examining you, its face was full of seriousness. Seeing it like this, all the little beasts' hearts were in their throats. Grandpa Zhan, the little beasts, led by the baby, all looked at Feng Zhan with tears in their eyes. Feng Zhan couldn't help but frown. Why are you guys acting like this? I didn't say anything. Feng Zhan was speechless. You didn't say it, but you showed it. You didn't say a word, so of course they were worried. The little beast couldn't help but feel worried. AI. Then, Feng Zhan let out another heavy sigh. The little beast's heart sank when they heard his sigh. Fortunately, Feng Zhan had knocked you out. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in a good mood when she saw them like this. What happened? At this moment, Ao Jia, who had been eavesdropping outside the door, pushed the door open and walked in with big steps. However, when he saw the huge Feng Zhan in the middle of the room, he was obviously stunned. Oh my God, what was this thing? Phoenix? He didn't see wrong, did he? How could there be a phoenix here? Furthermore, this old phoenix's strength was not low. Then he saw the mimicked Feng Zhan, and his face immediately twitched. Why was there another one? There was also a white tiger. This time, he had basically seen all of Lung Ruoxu's beasts. However, this was not all. Furthermore, Lung Ruoxu's beasts, even Ziyu and the others who existed in human form, did not like strangers. As Ao Jia was not familiar with them, he was naturally considered a stranger. Hence, in reality, Ao Jia had not seen many of Lung Ruoxu's beasts. Even during the period of time that he had been living in the bracelet, the beasts had rarely appeared in front of him. This was because they could tell. Ao Jia was not reliable. As a matter of fact, Ao Jia was indeed unreliable. After seeing Feng Zhan, and Bai Su, he stood there in a daze for a long time without saying a word. When he came back to his senses, he was met with the beast's disdainful gazes. Instantly, Ao Jia's face was burning. Seeing Ao Jia, Feng Zhan only nodded slightly, but didn't say anything. It was as if it was normal to see him. However, Ao Jia couldn't stay calm. Have I seen you somewhere before? Ao Jia looked at Feng Zhan and asked. Yup. However, your memory isn't that good. You actually don't recognize me. Feng Zhan said indifferently, the expression on his face as calm as the wind. They also knew each other. Hearing this, Ao Jia was even more confused. Feng Zhan saw this and kindly reminded him, I used to be a guard of the Phoenix King. Ao Jia cried out in surprise. He looked Feng Zhan up and down with his eyes wide open, then said with uncertainty, Why, you're Feng Zhan? Fuck. He couldn't be blamed for not recognizing them. The main reason was that these phoenixes looked almost the same when they transformed into their original forms. They were all birds, so who could tell them apart so clearly? Yes. Feng Zhan nodded. Although he didn't know Uncle Dragon, he knew Ao Jia. They had met a few times, but this guy's memory wasn't very good. He couldn't tell who was who. Now that he could call out his name accurately, he was very pleased. You're still alive? After confirming, Ao Jia asked excitedly. Yup, my old bones are still alive, and now I've returned to the divine realm. It's really not easy. Feng Zhan sighed. It's good that you're alive. By the way, why are you with that little girl? Ao Jia asked curiously. That little girl is my master now, Feng Zhan said indifferently. Feng Zhan's answer stunned Ao Jia. This was beyond his expectations. I say, old man, it's been so many years. Why are you still so stupid? Feng Zhan joked when he saw Ao Jia's expression. How am I silly? Upon hearing this, Ao Jia was a little angry. If you're not stupid, then why are you always so dazed? No wonder the Phoenix King always says you're a fool and even told us to take care of you. During the years when we were not in the divine realm, you must have been bullied by many people, right? As he spoke, Feng Zhan looked at Ao Jia with more and more sympathy, which made Ao Jia feel uncomfortable. I am not as stupid as you say. Ao Jia couldn't stand Feng Zhan's pitiful look and shouted. However, his words sounded weak. He sighed when he thought of the situation the Phoenix King was in. When he had just inherited the throne of the Golden Eagle tribe, he went to the Phoenix tribe to challenge the king of the Phoenix tribe. The result was obvious. However, after he lost, the king of the Phoenix did not kill him. Instead, he taught him well. Therefore, he had always been grateful to the king of the Phoenix. Although the king of the Phoenix did not admit that he was his master, in his heart, the king of the Phoenix was his master. Unfortunately, he could do nothing when his master was in trouble, and the Golden Eagle clan had also played a role in adding fuel to the fire. For hundreds of thousands of years, the Golden Eagle kind have been seeing the Phoenix kind as their biggest enemy. The main cause of the conflict between the two races was the fight between the royal divine beasts of the divine world. When the divine realm had just been established, all order still needed to be improved. In order to better manage the divine realm, the Master God had chosen 8 of the most powerful clans from the human race and 4 from the magical beasts to act as the representatives of the human and magical beasts to assist the Master God in better managing the divine realm. At that time, the competition between the human and beast races was extremely fierce. Among the beast races, the land beasts were the strongest, while the flying and crawling beasts were slightly weaker. As a result, the land beasts occupied 2 of the 4 spots, while the other 2 spots were divided between the flying and crawling beasts. They became the 4 great beast races that were later respectfully called the 4 great king divine beasts. Among the flying beasts, the Phoenix clan and the Eagle clan were the strongest. The Golden Eagle clan was the leader of the Eagle clan. However, in the final selection, the Golden Eagle clan lost to the Phoenix clan. Therefore, the conflict between the 2 clans was formed. Chapter 2029, An Unfavorable Start 4. Since then, the conflict between the Phoenix tribe and the Golden Eagle tribe had been endless. In the end, it developed into a conflict between the 2 tribes. In the end, the Divine Master came forward and resolved the conflict with a fair duel. However, the ancestor of the Golden Eagle tribe was a narrow-minded person. After returning to the tribe, he died a few days later due to a heart attack. Therefore, some members of the Golden Eagle tribe hated the Phoenix King. They didn't dare to cause trouble for the Phoenix clan on the surface, but they had definitely schemed against the Phoenix clan in secret. However, the anger of the Phoenix clan was suppressed by the magnanimous King Phone. Therefore, the 2 clans seemed to be at peace on the surface, but there had been an undercurrent in private. After he inherited the throne of the Golden Eagle tribe, he was young and impetuous. He had heard a lot of complaints about the Phoenix King from his tribe since he was a child, so he impulsively came to challenge the Phoenix King. As time went by, he naturally learned more about the Phoenix King's way of doing things. As he learned more about the Phoenix King, his hostility toward the Phoenix King slowly turned into admiration, and he became closer to the people of the Phoenix tribe. Under his leadership, the young members of the Golden Eagle tribe started to complain less and less about the Phoenix tribe. Some of them even became good friends with the Phoenix tribe. Originally, if this situation continued, it would be beneficial to the Golden Eagle tribe. However, some people could not bear to see the 2 tribes getting along, so they betrayed him, the king of the Golden Eagle tribe, and cooperated with Wu Ling to kill the Phoenix King and lord Yu. Of course, the Golden Eagle tribe was not the only one responsible for this. Many other beast tribes were also involved. However, as the king of the Golden Eagle tribe, the shame of being betrayed had always followed him. Although he had finally taken back the throne of the Golden Eagle tribe and cleaned up the rebels, he had never been able to save the Phoenix King. He had also never been able to avenge lord Yu, which was his biggest regret. He regarded the Phoenix King as his master's family, and Master Yu as his idol and someone he wanted to follow. So, he had to save and take revenge on both of them. But after so many years, he had not been able to get close to them. This fact had always made him depressed. Now, when he saw the guards by the Phoenix King's side, he felt extremely close to them. Even his eyes were slightly red. His eyes were hot, and some unknown liquid began to flow in them. "You're not stupid?" Seeing Ao Jie's reaction, Feng Zhan glanced at him and said calmly, "Of course I'm not stupid. I'm very smart." Upon hearing this, Ao Jie quickly retorted. The sadness he felt earlier also disappeared without a trace. "Hee, you really haven't changed at all." Seeing Ao Jie's familiar expression, Feng Zhan was overjoyed. In the past, they liked to tease this stupid little eagle when they had nothing to do. Every time they saw him stomping his feet in anger, they would be very happy. Then they would throw him some phoenix fruits as a reward for pleasing them. At that time, this little eagle would be even more angry. However, it just so happened that it didn't have any phoenix fruit on hand right now. Otherwise, it would really want to throw it to him like before. Feng Zhan thought to himself with evil intentions. Fortunately, Ao Jie didn't know what Feng Zhan was thinking. Otherwise, he would have run as far away as he could. But now, Ao Jie was more friendly with Feng Zhan. So he ignored Feng Zhan's joke and asked him about their whereabouts all these years. When he found out that Feng Zhan and the rest of the Feng clan had been exiled to the lower realm for so many years and had almost lost their lives, all the guilt in his heart surged up. After a long while, he finally apologized. "I'm sorry, back then the Golden Eagle clan." However, before he could finish, Feng Zhan interrupted him. "What happened back then had nothing to do with you. There's also a traitor in the Phoenix clan, a great tribulation of the divine realm," Feng Zhan said with a worried face. Every time he thought about the Phoenix King and his people still suffering, his heart ached as if it was being cut by a knife. Then, he thought of Feng Zhan and changed the topic. "He's Feng Zhan, the youngest son of the Phoenix King. He was born in the lower realm." Feng Zhan. After hearing Feng Zhan's introduction, Ao Jie sized up Feng Zhan and couldn't help but pick him up. However, Feng Zhan rejected his hug. "Damn it, let me go. Other than my master, I won't allow anyone else to hug me." Feng Zhan roared in anger. Although Feng Zhan and the other clansmen wanted to hug him from time to time, he had always avoided them whenever he could. If he couldn't avoid them, he would let them hug him. But who the hell was this guy in front of him? Why did he have to hug her? Is this little fellow really the son of the Phoenix King? Why is your temper so bad? Looking at Feng Zhan, who was struggling in his arms, Ao Jie hugged him even tighter. However, his face was filled with suspicion. After all, in his heart, the Phoenix King was a gentle and elegant beast king, unlike this little thing who was like a barrel of explosives. I'm sure. Feng Zhan's face darkened when he heard Ao Jie's words. "Oh, you must have spoiled it too much. Why don't you hand it over to me? He'll be responsible for raising it. Otherwise, if the Phoenix King finds out that his son has such a bad temper, he will be disappointed." Ao Jie suggested. "Do I need you to meddle?" Ao Jie's words made Feng Zhan clench his teeth in hatred. What kind of person was this? Was there anyone so familiar with him? Hugging at the moment he came up and even saying that he wanted to teach it, he really angered the Phoenix to death. Seeing that Feng Zhan was about to vomit blood from Ao Jie's anger, Mick could only say, "Grandpa Feng Zhan, you still haven't told us about Ye's condition." As she said this, the mice's forehead was filled with black lines. These people really knew how to go off topic. They had clearly gathered here for the matter of you, but in the end, it had become a family reunion. However, on account that they were old acquaintances, these little beasts did not disturb them. However, they had to make a sound now. They were really afraid that Feng Zhan and Ao Jie would fight. Yup, Feng Zhan scratched his head in embarrassment, then tried to come up with an excuse. Its eyes were burned by its consciousness. Although Shui gave it some healing pills, the other party was too strong, so its injuries were quite serious. It has already injured its optic nerve, so it will take some time to recover. But it won't be blind forever, don't worry. In fact, there was one more thing that it didn't say. It would take a long time to completely recover. Fortunately, Shui had given it the best healing pills. Otherwise, you would have no fate with the light. After hearing Feng Zhan's words, the little beasts finally relaxed. At this time, Yu slowly woke up, but it was all dark in front of him, which made him very uncomfortable. He struggled to get up, but accidentally fell off the bed. "Be careful!" Feng Zhan was the closest to it. When he saw this, he quickly flew out of Ao Jie's arms and caught the feather that almost fell to the ground. Then, he carefully placed it on the bed. Chapter 2030, An Unfavorable Start, 5. The other little beasts also surrounded you in fear, each of them asking about her well-being. Seeing this scene, Ao Jie smiled. It seemed that the little phoenix was not angry at everyone, and these little beasts were so harmonious that it made people envious and jealous. Don't tell Master about me. Feather's eyes searched around, but could not find the focus. It was obviously speaking to Ao Gia. Are you sure you don't want to tell her? If she knew that you hid such a big thing from her, I think that little girl will be angry. I don't know if we, who know the truth, can withstand her anger. Ao Gia laughed when he heard Yes' words. However, as soon as he said that, the little beasts present could not help but tremble in their hearts. Their eyes were also wavering. When Ao Gia saw this, he knew that these little beasts were all conflicted in their hearts. As expected, Feng Zhan was the first to hesitate. Why don't I'll let Master know. This matter can be kept a secret, Feng Zhan said after some thought. Master will feel guilty, he said softly. He didn't want his master to blame himself, so he didn't want his master to know. Who said I would feel guilty? I only feel heartache. All of a sudden, Lung Ruoxu's voice rang in the ears of the little beasts. Instantly, the scene turned into a mess. When the little beasts heard their master's voice, they all subconsciously looked for a place to hide. Seeing them like this, Ao Gia laughed in his heart. Actually, he had long noticed Lung Ruoxu's arrival, but he just didn't say it out loud. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the demon walked in. Lung Ruoxu's heart ached when she saw you lying on the bed like a pitiful little thing, not knowing what to do. She immediately took you into her arms and gently stroked its soft feathers without saying a word. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue wasn't saying anything, Feng Zhan felt very uncertain. However, he had nowhere to hide because he wasn't in his mimicry form. Sob, it's too late to use the mimicry now. And Master, Feather was very uneasy, especially when its master was silent. It didn't know if its master was angry. How should I punish you? You. After a long while, Lung Ruoxue glanced at Feng Zhan, who was also restless, and said indifferently, You actually dare to hide this from me? Without giving you a chance to speak, Lung Ruoxue continued. However, her voice was a little colder than before. Master, I was wrong. You quickly admitted his mistake. Where did I go wrong? Lung Ruoxue asked. I shouldn't have hidden it from Master. You said, Yes, there's more. Lung Ruoxue continued to ask without any expression. I shouldn't have let them help me hide this from Master. Yes' voice became softer and softer. Towards the end, she buried her little head into Lung Ruoxu's arms, not daring to raise her head. It's good that you know. How could you hide this from me? Do you think you can hide it from me? Lung Ruoxu's voice became gentler. She no longer tried to scare it, leaving behind only heartache. Ai, this little fool, you, was afraid that she would blame herself, so he didn't tell her that he had lost his sight. This made her very upset as a master. Her beastie was too sensible, so sensible that it made her heart ache. It seemed that sometimes it was not a good thing to respect one's own beastie too much. They even dared to hide things from him. This time, it was also because the evildoer noticed that Lung Ruoxue was a little absent-minded. She was obviously worried about you, yet she wanted to respect her beastie's privacy. He could not bear to see her fidgeting, so he suggested that she secretly come over to take a look. This way, she would be at ease if nothing happened, and if something really happened, it would not be delayed. But now, it seemed that they had come to the right place. Something had indeed happened to you. Thinking of Yes' condition, Lung Ruoxue examined it in detail again. After confirming that only its divine vision had been seriously injured and could be recuperated, she was finally at ease. However, even though she was friendly to you, it didn't mean that she would let the other beasts go. Still not coming out. How long are you going to hide? Lung Ruoxu's tone was a little cold. Hearing this, the little beasts did not dare to hide anymore. They hurriedly came out from their hiding places, which were under the bed and the cupboard. Then, they spontaneously came to Lung Ruoxu's side and acted coquettishly with her. However, Lung Ruoxue was unmoved, her face still cold. Master, we didn't mean to hide it from you. Seeing that their master was still pulling a long face after coaxing them for a long time, the baby was a little scared and quickly admitted its mistake. And it wasn't on purpose. You guys did it on purpose. Lung Ruoxue came to an important conclusion. The moment she said this, Baby's ears drooped down, and it looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully. It looked as obedient as it could be. However, Lung Ruoxue, who was familiar with its temperament, did not fall for it. Master, I know I was wrong. At this moment, the May also spoke up, her face still filled with guilt. Yes, I know that May is a person who values relationships and loyalty. Don't do it again. Lung Ruoxue caressed my soft fur and said gently. When May heard this, she quickly jumped into Lung Ruoxue's arms and rubbed against her affectionately. She was finally at ease. Oh, Master forgave it, that's great. The May was extremely excited, but the baby was even more depressed. My lovely master, how can you treat me differently? Baby was extremely aggrieved. His pair of silver eyes met Lung Ruoxue's resentfully. You're the first one to help you hide it from me, right? Lung Ruoxue asked with an evil smile. Baby was speechless. Could say no? Obviously not. Cute master, I was forced to do this. Baby explained in a low voice. Oh, tell me about it. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. You as my friend, I can't not help him. And you are my master, I don't want to hide it from you. So, I am in a dilemma. However, I was also afraid that you would blame yourself for yes' sake. So I was moved by it. But I was definitely hiding it from you out of goodwill, really. I promise. When Baby said this, it even raised one of its little claws as if it was making an oath to prove that it was not lying. Chapter 2031. Who's the sheep? 1. In that case, not only should I not punish you, but I should also praise you. Lung Ruoxue didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she heard her baby's words. This little fox had always been sharp-tongued and was indeed made for diplomacy. However, she was more interested in hearing how it would explain itself. Therefore, when she said this, her face was stern. I'm already very satisfied that my cute master didn't punish me. I don't even dare to ask for praise. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Baby said with a slight grievance, Do you feel wrong? Lung Ruoxue glanced at Baby's tiny appearance and said indifferently, I don't feel wronged. Baby hesitated for a moment before saying, although it said that, its face still had an aggrieved expression. Since you don't feel aggrieved, then accept your punishment. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. All right then. Baby wanted to cry, but had no tears. It thought to itself, why isn't it working when it's acting pitiful? At first, it thought that if it pretended to be weak, its cute master would not punish it because of his heartache. Who knew that it had no effect at all? As it thought about it, it really felt wronged. Tears slowly welled up in its eyes, rolling in its beautiful silver eyes, but they did not fall. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue picked up the small and exquisite treasure with one hand and said in amazement, Oh my, you look so adorable. If I take you out for a walk like this, I don't know how many women will be envious. Baby was dumbfounded when it heard that. It felt that it had overreached itself. Woo, good master, good sister. It didn't want to go out like this. Otherwise, it would be swallowed alive by those female tigers outside. Ha ha. I've decided that your punishment will be to go out with me like this. Lung Ruoxue said with a hint of mischief in her voice. Don't. Baby was wailing in pain in its heart. It didn't want to go out. Master, you can't bully an honest fox like this. After thinking about it again and again, it decided to share the good fortune and the bad. So, it made up its mind and said, Cute master, I'm not the only one who has been hiding things from you. Although it had only said half of the sentence, it believed that its smart master would understand. But as soon as it said this, it immediately received daggers from all the beasts. It was obvious that it had angered the public. However, the arrow was already on the bow and had to be released. Therefore, it could only bite the bullet and drag the other beasts into the water. Anyway, even if it didn't say this, its master would punish them. With this in mind, Baby's heart was at ease. You're right. Oh, how should I punish you? Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement at Baby's words. Then, her beautiful eyes began to scan the other beasties' bodies, causing the other beasties' hearts to shiver. Feng Zhan felt uncomfortable under Lung Ruoxu's gaze. He mumbled, am not allowed to eat for 3 days. It took the initiative to suggest this. It even thought that this was a very serious punishment for it, because it had fallen in love with human food, especially the food at Lung Ruoxu's house. It was really painful for it not to eat for a day. Isn't 3 days too short? Lung Ruoxu asked with uncertainty. It's not a small amount. For a foodie, not eating delicious food for a meal is extremely painful. Feng Zhan said with a bitter face. That's true. Then he'll punish you by not eating for 3 days. Lung Ruoxu gave Feng Zhan a lot of face. After all, he was an ancestor of the Phoenix clan. Thank you, little girl. Feng Zhan sighed. What the hell is this? It had to thank her for being punished, but it knew that it was better to take the initiative than to let the little girl settle the score later. If that was the case, its punishment would be even more severe. Confessing and surrendering themselves were the rhythm of admitting their mistakes. Seeing that his problem had been solved, Feng Zhan didn't want to get involved in anything else. He lay on the ground without moving and started to act as an accessory. Seeing that Feng Zhan's punishment was so light, the beasts also complained that they wouldn't eat for 3 days. They only begged their master to forgive them for hiding the truth out of goodwill. However, Lung Ruoxu wouldn't let them have their way. No, Lung Ruoxu rejected him without even thinking. Master, why not? The referee asked in confusion. This punishment is too light for you, Lung Ruoxu said with a smile. It's not light. Didn't grandfather Feng Zhan punish me the same way? Richard was very unconvinced. In fact, it wanted to say that the Mei had not been punished by its master and had been forgiven. Sob, what a huge difference in treatment. It was too unfair. However, it only dared to complain in its heart and did not dare to say it out loud. It's a glutton. Not eating for 3 days is already a heavy punishment, but you guys aren't. Lung Ruoxu replied matter-of-factly. Master, we also like food. Hearing this, all the beastie beasts said in unison. Liking food and being a foodie are two different concepts. So, don't think about it. You'll receive the same punishment. Lung Ruoxu directly destroyed their hopes. Then, she continued, Judge, your punishment is to go farm with Qingju for 3 days, Ling will be grounded for 3 days, and Feng Zhan will train with Uncle Ao for 3 days. Lung Ruoxu listed out the punishment for the little beasts one by one. Every time she mentioned a beast, the little beast's face would fall. This was because the punishment that their master was talking about was the punishment that they hated the most. Hee, little guy, you've finally fallen into my hands. Ao Jia looked at Feng Zhan and said with his eyes shining. Lung Ruoxu's punishment made him very excited. This was the youngest son of the Phoenix King. He had to teach her well. As he thought of this, he instantly thought of several training plans in his heart. He was prepared to train Feng Zhan well. When Feng Zhan saw the happy and wretched expression on Ao Jia's face, he thought about how to get rid of it. With this, their battle of wits and courage had officially begun. Lung Ruoxu did not care about the undercurrent between them. After she was done explaining the punishment for the beasts, she carried you and left with the demon. AI. As soon as they left, a series of sighs could be heard in Yes' room. Ao Jia picked up Feng Zhan, who was still struggling, and left. Damn it, let me go. Don't touch me. Feng Zhan's howls reverberated in the bangle. However, the old phoenixes all pretended to be deaf and mute. This was the little girl's punishment, and they could only watch. At that moment, Uncle Dragon, who was drinking tea in the garden, saw Ao Jia returning with a little phoenix in his arms. His face was full of question marks. This little phoenix is... Uncle Long was very curious. He knew that the little girl had phoenixes, but these phoenixes would not appear in front of him easily. To put it bluntly, they did not meet outsiders. He's the youngest son of the Phoenix King. He'll train the little girl for 3 days. Ao Jia said with a smile. His wrinkled old face was about to burst into a smile. Chapter 2032. Who's the sheep, too? You're an eagle. Uncle Long was stunned and reminded him. Although the training of beasts was similar, eagles and phoenixes were not of the same race. This unreliable guy wouldn't train this little phoenix into an eagle, right? That would be fun to watch. I know. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. They'll train it just like how the Phoenix King trained me. Aojia said seriously. However, after hearing this, Uncle Dragon's face darkened even more. Looking at Aojia, Uncle Dragon was speechless. He couldn't help but think to himself, how are these the same? What kind of person was the Phoenix King? Their training must have been arranged according to the characteristics of your eagle clan. But do you know anything about phoenixes? Do you know how phoenixes raise their offspring? Furthermore, although this little phoenix was still young, it was already a 9th-ranked sacred beast. Did it still need to be trained? Who wants you to train? Let go of me, you ugly monster. At this time, Fengzhan also shouted out in a rather uncooperative manner. Seeing the little phoenix's resistance, Uncle Dragon was even more pessimistic about Aojia. Hee, even if you don't want to, you can't. This is what your master said. Aojia had Lung Ruoxu's support, so he was not afraid of Fengzhan's provocation. Hearing this, Fengzhan became listless. Wu master, be obedient. Otherwise, they'll tell the little girl that you're not going to accept your punishment. Aojia gave Uncle Long a triumphant look and then said to Fengzhan. However, Fengzhan was too lazy to even lift his eyes. He didn't want to bother with this fellow who was using his power to intimidate others. What's going on? Hearing Aojia's words, the question mark on Uncle Long's face grew bigger. Seeing this, Aojia described what happened to Uncle Long. After Uncle Long heard it, his expression became serious. Old whale, don't worry. We'll find a way. Seeing Uncle Dragon's expression, Aojia knew what Uncle Dragon was worried about, so he could only comfort him. In fact, he was not confident, but now was definitely not the time to attack the morale. The next morning, after Lung Ruoxue finished her breakfast, she pulled the evildoer along with her and left the inn. This time they swaggered out of the inn. Of course, she did not forget to bring her precious along. However, when the inn's waiter saw Lung Ruoxue, he was stunned because he did not remember such a handsome man coming to stay the night. However, he did not think too much about it and immediately treated Lung Ruoxue as a friend of the inn's customer. From this, it could be seen that his mental endurance was also unusually strong. However, before Lung Ruoxue and the demon left the room, the waiter kindly reminded them, the management of the imperial city has been quite strict recently, so you must be very careful when you go out and don't cause trouble. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Thanks for the reminder. The demon put on a grateful expression and pulled Lung Ruoxue to the streets. When they arrived on the street, the two of them realized that the security in the imperial city was indeed much tighter than it had been a few days ago. There were guards dressed in the uniform of the guards of the Divine Master's estate everywhere on the street. They patrolled the streets and would even stop and interrogate suspicious people when they saw them. The two of them strolled around the streets with mutual understanding. Baby obediently lay on Lung Ruoxue's shoulder, pretending to be weak. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue saw a shop that specialized in selling medicinal herbs and pulled the evil demon in. The imperial city was quite prosperous. The streets were filled with shops, and all kinds of goods were available. However, even if the shops here did not belong to the Divine Lord's estate, they were closely related to it. The shop they were entering had the sign of the Divine Lord's estate, a red blood lotus. Normally, the blood lotus and the blood cherry blossom were very similar, but if one looked closely, one would discover the differences between the two. The blood lotus was a truly famous flower. It was extremely valuable in the divine realm and also had a certain medicinal value. However, the blood cherry blossom was a completely poisonous flower that liked to drink blood. Although the two of them were both blood red in color, the blood cherry blossom's red color carried a hint of blood. However, because the blood lotus was the symbol of the god Lord's estate, there was no one in the divine realm who did not recognize the blood lotus. As for the blood cherry blossom, not many people knew about it. After Lung Ruoxue and the demon walked into the shop, the waiter merely blinked and ignored them completely. This kind of disregard might be considered rude to others, but it was exactly what the two of them wanted. The two of them walked towards the shelf without a sound and casually sized up the medicinal herbs on it. However, their divine senses were constantly observing the actions of the waiter in the shop. However, the waiter really did not care about them because he knew that the things he sold here were extraordinarily expensive. Even if it was just an ordinary medicinal herb, the price was twice as expensive as outside. There were very few people who bought it. Lung Ruoxue had also noticed this problem, so she had no intention of buying anything here. At this moment, a few well-dressed people walked in from the outside. However, Lung Ruoxue and the demon's back was facing them. When the waiter saw them, he immediately put on a smile and went up to welcome them. "Your Excellency, Exalt Huang, why are you here today?" The waiter asked the man in the lead with a humble smile, his face full of flattery. But in reality, he was thinking, how unlucky. This vampire is here again, Sai. He was going to bleed again. Although he was flattering them on the surface, the waiter really hated these people. However, he was just a small waiter, and this shop did not belong to him. Therefore, even though he hated them, he did not have the courage to offend these people from the Divine Master's estate. After all, these people were not the most powerful and terrifying people in the Divine Master's estate. However, his master still couldn't afford to offend him. More importantly, this person had a backer. The entire Imperial City is heavily guarded now, and I'm in charge of this area, so I naturally had to come and take a look. "By the way, how's business?" Exalt Huang asked with concern. His words were extremely grand, but the waiter knew very well that this person was here for money. "The business is all right. My master even said a few days ago that he wanted to thank Exalt Huang for taking care of him. However, master just so happens to not be here right now." The waiter only finished half of his sentence before he raised his head to look at Exalt Huang. However, the meaning behind his words was obvious. "Master is not here. You have come for nothing. I can't make the decision." "Hee, that's really unfortunate. However, I have a message for your master. The bidding for the exclusive management rights of the Divine Master's residence is about to start again, so tell him to make preparations in advance." Exalt Huang said with a smile. He didn't look like he was going to make things difficult for the waiter, but the waiter's heart sank when he heard this. Wasn't this a blatant threat? The exclusive management rights of the Divine Lord's residence meant that merchants were allowed to operate shops in the Imperial City under the name of the Divine Lord's residence. However, they had to pay the Divine Lord's residence a very high naming right. Similarly, these shops could enjoy the highest discounts in the Imperial City. However, this did not mean that other people were not allowed to operate shops in the Imperial City. However, the shops that were not under the name of the Divine Lord's residence had to pay the highest taxes in the Imperial City. They would have almost no profit. Chapter 2033. Who's the Sheep? 3. Even so, it was the dream of many families to own a shop in the Imperial City. They regarded it as an honor. So even if they couldn't make much money here, they still had to provide for these vampires. Many people were willing to do so. The exclusive management rights of the God Lord's Manor were limited to 100 years. This year was the last year of the 100 years, so the waiter didn't expect that Exalt Huang would remind him today. It seemed that Exalt Huang was deliberately making things difficult for them because he didn't get any benefits from them. Although his heart was clear, the waiter still had to put on a smile and said, "I'll let my master know." "Thank you for your reminder, Exalt Huang." "Yes." Exalt Huang nodded in satisfaction. Just as he was about to leave, the yellow-clothed girl beside him suddenly shouted, "Big brother, I want that fox." "What fox?" Exalt Huang was a little puzzled. Then, he looked in the direction the girl in yellow was pointing at and realized that there were outsiders in the shop. However, he didn't take it to heart because these two people weren't very strong. A purple fox with a big furry tail was lying on one of them. Women just like these useless things. Exalt Huang thought to himself, but he still spoke in a commanding tone. "My sister has taken a fancy to your fox. Hand it over." When Lung Ruoxue and the evildoer, who had their backs facing them, heard Exalt Huang's words, they looked at each other speechlessly. They felt rather helpless. Was this considered an unexpected calamity? In fact, if Exalt Huang had not taken the initiative to speak, the two of them had no intention of paying attention to him at all. After eavesdropping on his conversation with the waiter for a while, the two of them had also concluded in their hearts that this fellow was not a good person. Therefore, the two of them had been pretending to pick medicinal herbs without looking back. Who knew that his sister would actually take a fancy to a treasure? Left with no choice, the two of them turned around. Then, Lung Ruoxue pretended to be unhappy and said, "The treasure is mine. I won't give it to anyone else." After he finished speaking, he even held the treasure tightly in his arms, as if he was afraid that they would snatch it away, and conveniently ignored the waiter's sympathetic gaze that flashed past them. When Exalt Huang saw the sissy Lung Ruoxue, his eyes brightened. He was so shocked that his heart was beating wildly. Lung Ruoxue's appearance was like a dazzling ray of light that lit up his entire life. He knew that he had been struck by something called love. In an instant, Exalt Huang's gaze towards Lung Ruoxue became more and more passionate. This man had all the beautiful fantasies in his heart. Today, he could finally fulfill his wish. He was so excited that his body was trembling. A cold glint flashed in the demonic man's eyes when he saw Exalt Huang being shot by Cupid's arrow. He shot daggers at Exalt Huang, but Exalt Huang, who was currently immersed in the river of love, didn't feel any danger approaching. As for Lung Ruoxue, when she saw Exalt Huang's lustful look, she felt extremely depressed. Could it be that this fellow could tell that she was a girl? However, that was impossible, right? It was impossible for this fellow to have Sun Wukong's fiery eyes. More importantly, she believed in Green Vessel's ability. Aside from that, Exalt Huang's gaze was too fiery, causing Lung Ruoxue to have goosebumps all over. This was the first time she realized that being stared at by a strange man like this could make her go crazy. Yes, Lung Ruoxue was going crazy. In fact, Exalt Huang was quite good-looking. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, regular facial features, a tall and strong body, and his strength was also not ordinary. He was a divine emperor. Other than his eyes being a little hot, there was nothing too obscene about him. He was even far away from being vulgar. However, she was a man now. He was a genuine man, so she couldn't understand why Exalt Huang was looking at her with such a fiery and passionate gaze. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue would never have thought that Exalt Huang wasn't lustful towards women. He liked men, especially men like her who had the temperament of a submissive. She was Exalt Huang's favorite. "Young master, what is your name?" Exalt Huang, who had finally regained his senses, looked at Lung Ruoxue with deep affection and asked, "Ugh, when did the young master's name become a beautiful name?" Lung Ruoxue's mind was in a mess when she heard Exalt Huang's question. However, she still replied politely, "Imzhou Kun." She had plagiarized again. She had no choice. When she saw Mr. Huang, she wanted to tell him a slightly more vulgar name. Therefore, she thought of Zhou Kun immediately. "So, it's young master Zhou. It's an honor. I am Huang Shou. He's a consecrator of the god, Lord's estate." Huang Shou took the initiative to introduce himself. At this time, the yellow-clothed woman beside him couldn't wait any longer. She pulled on Huang Shou's lapels and loudly reminded, "Brother, I want that fox. Why are you talking so much nonsense? I'm sorry, the treasure is mine. I won't give it to anyone else." Without waiting for Huang Shou's response, Lung Ruoxue rejected him again. "Oomph. You sissy, it's your honor that I'm interested in your beast pet. Don't be so ungrateful." The yellow-robed lady was enraged after hearing Lung Ruoxue's words. However, Lung Ruoxue wasn't afraid of her at all. She only looked at Huang Shou, waiting to see what he would say. When Huang Shou saw Lung Ruoxue's resentful, beautiful eyes, his heart immediately melted into a puddle of water. He quickly promised, "Brother Zhou, don't worry. That fox is yours. No one will be able to take it away from you." Little brother Zhou, Lung Ruoxue was shocked. This guy was really friendly. In such a short time, she had become a good brother. However, now was not the time to be calculative about this. so she put on a grateful look and said, "I'm relieved to hear that, Exalt Huang." However, even though she was relieved, the yellow-clothed woman was not. The yellow-clothed woman shouted angrily, "Big brother, I'm your sister. How can you help an outsider and not me? Oomph. It'll definitely tell the old ancestor that you're a traitor. Don't talk nonsense. What did I betray you? Junior brother Zhou isn't an outsider, so how can you just take his beloved beast? Isn't it just a fox? When I have time, they'll catch one for you." The moment Huang Shou heard his sister's words, he immediately coaxed her. In fact, in his heart, his sister was not as important as Lung Ruoxue. After all, it was not easy to meet a man who could move his heart so much. Therefore, he would definitely not allow his sister to ruin his relationship. Then he'll get a purple fox too. The yellow-clothed woman saw that Huang Shou seemed to be a little angry, so she could only say this unwillingly. "No problem." "Yes," Huang Shou replied. In his heart, he was thinking that he should send someone to inform the Fox Clan leader when he had the time and ask him to send a purple fox over. This was to prevent his sister from having any ideas about the fox and making the beauty unhappy. After obtaining her brother's permission, the yellow-robed lady finally stopped. However, her eyes would still drift toward the treasure from time to time. However, she was ignored by Lung Ruoxue because she was in a dilemma. This yellow beast had said that she was not an outsider. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she really wanted to ask him, "What am I if not an outsider?" However, after thinking about it, it was better not to ask. Otherwise, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to bear the shocking words this beast said. After settling his younger sister, he saw Lung Ruoxue remaining silent. Huang Shou's heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. This beautiful woman's silent look really made his heart itch. At this time, he really wanted to hold the beauty in his arms and make out, but he was afraid that he would scare the beauty. After some thought, Huang Shou took the initiative to invite him. "Brother Zhou, you haven't been to the Divine Lord's estate, have you? Why don't I invite you to the Divine Master's estate as a guest?" Huang Shou's face was full of pride after he finished speaking, and he almost raised his tail. Of course, the premise was that he had the words. He firmly believed that Zhou Kun, who was in front of him, would definitely not be able to refuse his words. After all, who in the divine realm did not want to go to the Divine Lord's residence to broaden their horizons? Unfortunately, not everyone would have such an opportunity. Huang Shou's words stunned Lung Ruoxue. This person wanted to invite her to the Divine Master's estate? What was this? After exchanging glances with the demon, Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. After all, it would be a waste not to go. This was an opportunity to enter the Divine Lord's residence openly. Huang Shou had already expected that Lung Ruoxue would not be able to reject him, but when he saw that she had agreed, he let out a long sigh of relief. Only then did he realize that he had been waiting nervously for her reply. Sob. This was too much torture for his heart. Then, to avoid any more trouble, he quickly said to Lung Ruoxue, "Brother Zhou, come with me." "All right." Lung Ruoxue nodded and pulled the demon away with her. However, Huang Shou was obviously not satisfied with the demon, as he was just a burden. In order to please Lung Ruoxue, he had no choice but to accept the demon's existence. However, he had been feeling sullen all this while. After they left the pharmacy, the waiters in the pharmacy all watched their backs in disbelief. They couldn't help but think in their hearts that strange things happened every year, but there were especially many today. This was the first time he had seen Huang Shou speak to someone so politely and in such a humble manner. Suddenly, an idea suddenly came to his mind. Could it be that Huang Shou has taken a fancy to her? With this in mind, Huang Shou's attitude seemed much more reasonable, because there had always been rumors that he liked men. AI, what a pitiful guy. He had sent a sheep into the tiger's mouth. For a moment, his sympathy for Lung Ruoxue was like the waves of the river, endless. However, if Lung Ruoxue knew what he was thinking, she would definitely ask, "Who is the sheep?" Chapter 2034 Chaos 1. Lung Ruoxue had never thought of herself as a sheep. If she was a sheep, she would definitely be a wolf in sheep's clothing. However, she didn't know what the waiter was thinking, so she couldn't refute him. Along the way, Huang Shou kept trying to strike up a conversation with Lung Ruoxue. Unfortunately, Lung Ruoxue ignored him. However, this did not dispel Huang Shou's enthusiasm. Instead, it made him more courageous. Huang Shou looked at Lung Ruoxue, who was ignoring him, and felt depressed. However, he wouldn't cherish something that was easily obtained. Lung Ruoxue was the perfect person for him to get what he couldn't get. Therefore, he treated Lung Ruoxue even more diligently, while the demon's face grew darker and darker. He threw daggers at Huang Shou, but the man only had eyes for the beauty, so he ignored the cold and evil look. However, the frosty chi that was released from the evildoer's body was enough to freeze a radius of 100 miles. It made Lung Ruoxue's heart tremble. Sob, she did not need to ask to know that the evildoer was angry. However, this was none of her business. However, she knew that the consequences would be serious if the demon was angry, so she subconsciously stayed away from the 2 barrels of explosives that could explode at any time. However, in the next second, Lung Ruoxue was held tightly by a pair of strong arms, unable to move. In that instant, Huang Shou exploded. Damn it! Let go of my brother Zhou. Huang Shou roared in jealousy. His eyes were bloodshot with jealousy and hatred, and he couldn't help but curse in his heart. I haven't even hugged this beauty yet. How could he let an outsider have it? That's right, the evildoer was an outsider in his eyes, while Lung Ruoxue was his wife. So, when Huang Shou saw someone hugging his wife, one could imagine how angry he was. However, the evildoer only glanced at him indifferently, and Huang Shou's heart trembled. He swallowed the rest of the words he wanted to say, and forgot to say them. Huang Shou quickly reacted. When he thought about how he had actually been frightened by a weak, ugly person, he felt as if he had eaten a dead fly. Damn it, the other party was merely a god king. What was there to be afraid of? He thought that the demon only had the strength of a divine king. Therefore, when he realized what was going on, his anger multiplied. One should know that a divine king was nothing in the imperial city. Any waiter in any shop could have the strength of a divine king. Therefore, it was a great humiliation for him to be frightened by the demon. At this moment, he wanted to kill the demon. However, this ugly monster was with a beauty, so he couldn't do it now. With that thought in mind, he suddenly changed his attitude and smiled at the evildoer. Then, he said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I was a little too excited just now." A man must know when to yield and when to stand tall, so he must not let the beauty see that he had any dissatisfaction with this ugly woman. Huang Shou thought that he had hidden his emotions well. Unfortunately, in the eyes of Lung Ruoxue and the demon, he was like a clown. The 2 of them didn't even take him to heart. After walking for a while, the 2 finally arrived near the tall and magnificent building of the Divine Master's estate. However, Huang Shou did not lead them through the main entrance. Instead, he led them to the back door of the Divine Master's estate after many turns. After entering, Lung Ruoxue looked at the ordinary-looking courtyard in front of her and was speechless. Who told her that this was the Divine Master's residence? Although they had entered the Divine Master's estate through the back door, there was a wall between this place and the spacious main courtyard of the Divine Master's estate. Even if there was a small door on the wall, there were at least 4 guards standing guard there. There was no way they could stroll around the Divine Master's estate like this. Instantly, Lung Ruoxue felt as if she had been tricked. However, Huang Shou didn't think that he had lied to Lung Ruoxue. He even explained with a smile, "Junior Zhou, this is the courtyard we live in. The main building of the Divine Lord's estate is right next to it. However, it's heavily guarded, so even I can't go there often. As a result, I can only trouble Junior Zhou to stay with me for the time being. As long as there's an opportunity, they'll definitely bring Junior Zhou over to broaden his horizons." Lung Ruoxue didn't deny Huang Shou's promise. Then, she smiled charmingly and said, "Exalt Huang is too polite. I'm already very satisfied to be able to pay my respects to the Divine Lord's estate. Lung Ruoxu's understanding made Huang Shou fall in love with her even more, and the beautiful smile she had just shown made Huang Shou feel so happy that he couldn't even find the north. Following that, Huang Shou considerately arranged rooms for Lung Ruoxue and the demon. As they were his guests, they stayed in his courtyard. Naturally, he arranged for Lung Ruoxu's room to be next to his. As for the demon's room, he arranged it to be further away from them. Seeing that his room was so far away from Shui, the demon was furious. Why isn't my room next to hers? The demon looked at Lung Ruoxue and questioned Huang Shou in dissatisfaction. He could not bring himself to call her Zhou Kuan and Shui. Other than junior brother Zhou's room, there's only one empty room. You're not going to stay there, but do you want junior brother Zhou to stay there? Huang Shou said matter-of-factly. Furthermore, he had treated the evildoer as Lung Ruoxu's lackey. Hence, from the bottom of his heart, he believed that the evildoer would not dare to do such a thing. Unfortunately, he had underestimated the monster. After the demon heard his words, he smiled and said indifferently, "That's a good idea. Let's switch rooms." He couldn't ask for more. It would be strange if he wanted Shui, or to be too close to Huang Shou. In fact, it was fine if Lung Ruoxue stayed next door to Huang Shou. The demon would never let Lung Ruoxue stay by herself. Unfortunately, he was a man who was protective of his food. Even though he knew it was fine, he didn't want Shui or to stay by the side of a man who had bad intentions towards her. Even if he was by her side, he couldn't. He was just this overbearing, and Lung Ruoxue understood that. Hence, she naturally wouldn't object. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue didn't have any objections and even indulged this ugly woman, Huang Shou felt as if he had drunk a jar of old vinegar. No matter how he looked at this demon, he didn't like it. However, he couldn't act up in front of Lung Ruoxue so as not to leave a bad impression on her. So, he was in a dilemma. He hated the evildoer to death, but he couldn't do anything to him. This wasn't an ordinary kind of grievance. After consoling himself for a while, Huang Shou could finally get by in the room. However, he had no intention of being nice to the evildoer in private. So, when Lung Ruoxue wasn't paying attention, the two of them would exchange glances with each other. However, Huang Shou would always be defeated. After a few times, the evildoer had become Huang Shou's biggest threat. In addition, Lung Ruoxue and the evildoer were showing their intimacy from time to time, which greatly stimulated Huang Shou. When no one was around, Huang Shou would keep asking why. He couldn't figure out whether it was his appearance, family background, or strength. He was above that ugly woman. However, his younger brother Zhou just had to listen to that ugly woman's words. This fact was a huge blow to him. Chapter 2035, Chapter 2034 Chaos 2. Fortunately, there were a lot of things to do in the Divine Master's residence for the past 2 days. Hence, he did not have to worry about it for long before he was so busy that his feet did not touch the ground. On the other hand, Lung Ruoxue and the demon were no longer bothered by the third wheel, so they settled down temporarily in the Divine Master's residence. When no one was around, the two of them would stay in the bracelet. When Huang Shou was around, the demon would stay in Lung Ruoxue's room. On a certain day, Huang Shou had just finished his work and had rushed over to see Lung Ruoxue, who knew that the person who opened the door for him was a demon. The moment he saw her, the anger in his heart rose uncontrollably. "Don't you have your own room? What are you doing here all day?" Huang Shou roared in anger. Since this guy was always in his brother Zhou's room, why would he want to exchange rooms with him? Otherwise, every time he returned to his room, he would be able to see how happy his younger brother Zhou was. It was a pity that there was such a third wheel. She was really angry no matter how she thought about it. "I'm happy, all right?" After the demon finished speaking, he turned around and entered the room. Huang Shou was stunned, and the anger in his heart burned even more. After he came back to his senses, he quickly followed. Seeing Lung Ruoxue sitting in the small living room drinking tea and eating snacks, Huang Shou felt extremely aggrieved. With a face full of hidden bitterness, he said, "Brother Zhou, how can you be in the same room as a man? This is not good for your reputation." God knew how busy he had been these few days. The Divine Master had gone crazy and called all of them over to interrogate their ancestors. Then, he ordered them to pay attention to any suspicious people in the Imperial City. They had no time to rest these few days. He finally had some free time, so he specially came to see his beloved younger brother Zhou, and even met this third wheel, so he felt as wronged as he could. In reality, he did not know that ever since Wu Xian and Lung Ruoxue had left for the second time, she had ordered the guards of the God Lord's estate to check on suspicious people. However, for some reason, the guards had all fallen seriously ill in the past few days. The God Lord had no choice but to let the elders and sinecures in the God Lord's estate participate in this matter. Some of them were also in charge of the security of the God Lord's estate. Otherwise, the God Lord's estate would be short-handed. Therefore, Huangshou had been very busy these few days. He was so busy that he did not dare to think about Lung Ruoxue because the Divine Master's emotions were very unstable. He did not dare to make a single mistake, or he might lose his life. And under Lord Divine Master's rage, there were already people who suffered. After working for a few days, the Divine Master finally gave them a few hours of break to rest. He did not even think before he came to Lung Ruoxue's place. However, he met his biggest love rival here. This made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Seeing Huangshou's aggrieved expression and hearing his bitter words, Lung Ruoxue's face was filled with black lines. Then, she couldn't help but remind him, "Exalt Huang, am also a man. It's precisely because Brother Zhou is a man that we have to be more careful. After all, it's more troublesome for Fiyu to spread rumors between men, and not every family can accept such things. I don't want Brother Zhou to be hurt." Huangshou's words were said with Lung Ruoxue's best interests at heart, and his eyes that kept throwing charming looks at Lung Ruoxue were filled with endless affection. "Thank you for thinking about me, Exalt Huang. I'm so touched." Lung Ruoxue was a little speechless. Then, she pretended not to understand and asked with a puzzled look, "Exalt Huang, are your eyes cramping? Why do you keep blinking?" Lung Ruoxue's words made Huangshou feel defeated. He was trying to seduce her, okay? It wasn't a cramp. Even though he was furious, he could not bear to vent his anger on Lung Ruoxue. As for that ugly woman, the two of them had fought so many times, both overtly and covertly, but he had never won once. Therefore, before he had absolute confidence, he did not want to provoke that fellow. In fact, even if he were to take the initiative to provoke her now, she might not even bother with him. He was well aware of this. With this thought in mind, Huangshou stood up immediately and bade Lung Ruoxue goodbye before he turned around and left. Seeing that Huangshou had left so quickly this time, the demon was a little uncomfortable. Why did he leave so quickly? The demon was somewhat regretful. He had not properly dealt with the yellow beast yet. "What? Are you planning to make him stay for dinner?" Lung Ruoxue looked at the evildoer speechlessly and asked him back. Then, with a thought, she brought the two of them into the bangle. Seeing that they had returned, the smiling Uncle Long couldn't help but tease them. "Why is that little yellow beast so listless? You guys didn't do anything, did you?" He and Ao Jie could see everything that happened in the room with Lung Ruoxue, the demon, and yellow beast through the screen. "It's not that I didn't do anything, but I didn't have the chance to do anything." Lung Ruoxue laughed lightly as she teased. "That's true. Recently, the God Lord's manor has been giving them a lot of trouble." Uncle Long said sympathetically. This was all Shui Air's doing. On her first day here, she had sent her little beasts out to put some medicine in the well water of the Divine Master's estate. It was obvious that it was not the first time the little beasts had done this. They were all familiar with it and were very excited. However, out of caution, Lung Ruoxue asked them to return immediately after she had drugged them. Otherwise, who knew what these mischievous little beasts would do? In fact, Uncle Long knew very well that the reason these little beasts worked so hard was because they had been punished by Shui for 3 days. They had been holding back their anger for a long time, and they had vented it all on the people of the Divine Master's estate. As a result, those people were in trouble. Although the medicine in the well water might not have much of an effect on the people of the immortal realm, gods were also cultivated by mortals. Therefore, many people were still very concerned about eating, drinking, and sleeping. Even if they did not really need it, they could not completely abandon these habits. Otherwise, Shui's idea might not have succeeded. However, Uncle Long was clear that Shui was just trying to stand up for you. Although she didn't attack them ruthlessly, those people would probably end up worse. The truth was just as Uncle Long had expected. Although the guards of the Divine Master's estate were not in any life-threatening danger, they had suffered a lot. Not only did they feel an unbearable itch all over their bodies, but they also had diarrhea. Many of them had gone pale and collapsed. In addition, each of them had different symptoms. In addition to itchiness and diarrhea, some of them even had a foul smell. In short, they had all kinds of conditions, but they were not fatal. No matter what detox pill they took, they could not cure the problems in their bodies. For a time, the God Lord's estate was filled with complaints, and it was shrouded in a dark cloud. Unfortunately, no matter how angry they were, they couldn't find the culprit who had caused them to be in this state. This fact made them so depressed that they almost vomited blood. Therefore, in recent days, the sky above the Divine Master's estate would brew a storm at any time. The people of the Divine Master's estate had also tucked their tails between their legs and were careful not to offend the Divine Master. Chapter 2036. Chapter 2036 Chaos. 3. In contrast to their troubles, Lung Ruoxue and the rest led a very carefree life. Not only did they have good food and drinks to serve them, the yellow beast did not have the chance to disturb her. More importantly, they could see the God Lord's estate in a mess every day. This had become a must-watch program for Uncle Long, the rest, and the beasts. However, even though she had already turned the Divine Master's residence into a mess, Lung Ruoxue was still not happy. Although the secret room was the most suspicious, it had not been confirmed. Even if it was confirmed that it was the place where the fog's main body was stored, she was not very confident that she could obtain the petals of the fog's main body. Whenever she thought of this, Lung Ruoxue would feel a little frustrated. However, she would try her best not to show her emotions in front of Uncle Long. Hence, after hearing Uncle Long's words, Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly and said, "I'm planning to make the Divine Master's estate more chaotic." What? When Uncle Long heard this, he was extremely interested. Ao Jia, who was beside him, could not help but perk his ears as he looked at Lung Ruoxue with anticipation. Seeing their expressions, Lung Ruoxue took out a few black balls the size of a baby's fist. These balls are the explosive balls that she had modified, and their power was much stronger than before. However, Uncle Long had never seen such an item before. After all, Lung Ruoxue had only used it a few times. "Girl, what is this?" Seeing that Lung Ruoxue was deliberately keeping him in suspense, Uncle Long could not help but ask directly. "This is an explosive ball," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "Exploding balls? Don't tell me this little thing is going to explode?" Ao Jia asked in surprise. "Not bad." Lung Ruoxue nodded her head slightly. She could not help but think to herself, "I can't do anything to Wu Xian, but can I deal with the rest of the people in the Divine Master's estate?" Little girl, you're not thinking of blowing up the Divine Master's residence, are you?" Uncle Long asked in horror. This girl's idea was crazy. The Divine Master's residence was not that easy to blow up. "I had the same intention," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "Girl, the Divine Master's residence is very sturdy and is protected by a defensive formation. It's not that easy to blow it up." Although Ao Jia was very much looking forward to Lung Ruoxue's words, he was not very optimistic about her thinking. If the Divine Master's residence was blown up so easily, then wouldn't they become the laughing stock of the divine world? Of course, no one dared to laugh to their faces, but behind their backs, the dignity of the Divine Master's estate would be swept to the ground. After thinking about it, he felt that Shui's idea was not bad. Unfortunately, he knew very well that the old whale would never agree to this. This was because this idea was too crazy and dangerous. It's okay. I didn't expect to blow up the Divine Master's residence, but I can still disgust her, Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. In fact, her original intention was to cause trouble for Ripple Mist, who asked her to be in a bad mood. Girl, I don't agree. It's too dangerous. The God Lord's estate is now more heavily guarded than before. Perhaps Wu Chan's divine sense is also watching the God Lord's estate's movements at all times. If we attack and she finds out, we'll be in a passive position. Uncle Long said worriedly. Uncle Long, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Lung Ruoxue promised. However, Uncle Long still looked at her worriedly. In the end, it was Qing Ju who stepped in and promised that he would not be discovered by Wu Jing. Only then did Uncle Long finally let go of his worries. Actually, Uncle Long was well aware of Qing Ju's capabilities. However, from his perspective, this was completely different from what he was worried about. Furthermore, he was also afraid that Xue would rely too much on Qing Ju and act recklessly. Hence, he had to let Lung Ruoxue have a sense of crisis. That was why he would occasionally oppose Xue's opinions. He hoped that she would be able to face the problems that she was facing. Lung Ruoxue was also very clear about Uncle Long's thoughts. Therefore, whenever there was a problem, she would discuss it with them. If they had a different opinion, she would find a way to persuade them to agree. Therefore, the final result would always be her victory, who asked her to have a demon who supported her unconditionally in the help of the powerful green vessel. When she thought of this, the way she looked at the evildoer became more and more tender, making the evildoer's heart beat wildly. Uncle Long and Ao Jia coughed a few times when they saw the two of them flirting with each other. Then, the two of them said seriously, since the girl has already decided, then let's act quickly. Now that the matter had been settled, they were even more anxious than Lung Ruoxue. However, it wasn't too late yet, and it wasn't a good time to do bad things. So, Lung Ruoxue could only temporarily find something else for the two anxious old men to do. He asked them to go fishing in the stream under the waterfall in the bracelet, and the fish they caught would naturally be their dinner. Moreover, they were not allowed to use divine power or divine skills. They could only use fishing rods. This time, the two of them had a hard time. The two of them had never fished before, not to mention using a fishing rod. In fact, if the two of them wanted to eat fish, they could have just gone into the river to catch it. However, Xue insisted that the two of them use some kind of fishing rod. Looking at the fishing rod that was much thinner than their fingers, the two of them were in a miserable state, but they still walked towards the stream in resignation. There were quite a lot of fish in the stream, but as soon as the two of them got close, all the fish in the stream hid under the grass and refused to come out. The two of them looked at each other speechlessly. Fuck! The fish in the stream were too much of a bully. They had seen it with their own eyes. The moment those fish saw Lung Ruoxue, they would take the initiative to come to her. Now that they were seeing them, the two of them almost vomited blood from anger. However, as depressed as they were, the two still took the initiative to fish in the stream. However, after waiting for a long time, not a single fish took the bait. This fact made the two depressed old men speechless and not know what to say. Even when Lung Ruoxue sent Beastie to call the two of them for dinner, they still did not manage to find anything. When they were eating, both of them were frowning. Seeing this situation, Lung Ruoxue felt a little guilty. In fact, she asked Uncle Dragon and Ao Jia to go fishing just to let them find something to do to pass the time. Who knew that the beast's innate pressure actually scared the fish in the stream away? And Uncle Dragon and Ao Jia couldn't use violence on the fish in the stream, so they didn't find anything. What Lung Ruoxue didn't expect was that not being able to catch a fish would be such a huge blow to the two of them. For a moment, she didn't know how to comfort the two. Lung Ruoxue was a little embarrassed as she said, Uncle Long, Uncle Ao, the fish in this space are extremely cunning. Therefore, you must not take it to heart, and we don't mind. Old Man Ao and I have decided to go fishing there every day in the future. I don't believe that we really can't catch a single fish. Uncle Long gritted his teeth. He was in a fight with the fish. You call this not angry? Hearing Uncle Long's words, Lung Ruoxu's face was filled with black lines. She never thought that her failed fishing attempt would deal such a huge blow to Uncle Long and Ao Jie. Now, she was so regretful. Seeing Lung Ruoxu's conflicted expression, the demon smiled at Uncle Long and Ao Jie. Yes, I support your idea, but there's no time for you to fish now. We have to settle the Divine Master's residence first. Yes, little Brat Yi is right. The God Lord's manor is the most important thing. Uncle Long nodded in agreement. His attention was immediately diverted. Lung Ruoxue heaved a sigh of relief when she saw this. After dinner, the sky was already dark. Furthermore, after dinner, the sky suddenly turned dark. It was a sign that a storm was coming. Lung Ruoxue felt that the heavens were helping them with this sudden change in weather. However, Uncle Long and Ao Jie were a little worried. Girl, it looks like it's going to rain soon. Is your exploding ball afraid of water? Uncle Long was very worried. He didn't want to waste his efforts. Yup, little girl, why don't we do it another day? Ao Jie said. It's fine. Uncle Long, Uncle Ao, don't you worry. Tonight's weather is perfect for us to do bad things. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Seeing how confident she was, Uncle Long and Ao Jie were not as worried anymore. Then, Qingju turned the bangle into a small speck of dust again, and it drifted with the wind in the Divine Master's residence. Every time they arrived at a place, Lung Ruoxue and the rest would continuously throw explosive balls at that place through the light screen. Originally, Lung Ruoxue could have done this alone, but in order to let Uncle Long and Ao Jie have a sense of participation, they had added the two of them. As for the monster incarnate and the beasts, they were just there along the way. After walking around the Divine Master's residence, they saw that it was already raining heavily. However, such weather was perfect for Lung Ruoxue. Hence, their journey was unimaginably smooth. When they returned to the room Huang Shou had arranged for Lung Ruoxue, Uncle Long and Ao Jie felt as if they were in a dream. It did not feel real. It's done. Ao Jie sat in the garden in his bracelet and looked at Uncle Long in a daze. At this moment, there were only the two of them. Lung Ruoxue, the demon, and the other beasties had all returned to their rooms to rest. Yes, Uncle Long nodded his head, pretending to be calm, but in fact he couldn't calm down at all. Chapter 2037. Venting 1. This was too easy. Uncle Long couldn't stay calm. If he did not know about Qingju's ability to enter a no-man's land, he would have thought that he was dreaming. However, just as the two of them were bewildered, an explosion suddenly sounded in their ears. Uncle Long and Ao Jie looked at each other and thought to themselves at the same time, the explosion just started? Yes. The great explosion in the Divine Lord's residence had officially begun. Furthermore, Qingju had purposely aimed the light screen at every corner of the Divine Lord's residence, so that Uncle Long and Ao Jie could watch this exciting scene better. The explosion was also deliberately let in by Qingju for them to hear. In a light curtain, smoke filled the air, and soon, the sound of explosions rang out. However, the explosions did not cause much damage to the buildings of the Divine Master's residence. At most, they only caused some cracks. However, the flowers and plants in the Divine Master's residence were greatly damaged. Most of them had become withered flowers and willows, lying lifelessly on the ground. Seeing this, Ao Jie could not help but say, poor little flowers and grass. The place you grew up in is too bad, and now you've become the scapegoat of that old woman. Wu Yan, will you die if you say one less word? Hearing Ao Jie's words, Uncle Long rolled his eyes at Ao Jie. In fact, he did not feel sorry for those plants at all. Would there be anything good from the plants planted by women? Furthermore, Shui had also said that those flowers and plants were poisonous. However, the effect of Shui's explosive ball was quite good. He could already see the God Lord's estate in a mess again. It was even more chaotic than a few days ago. Just as Uncle Long had seen, The entire Divine Lord's estate had fallen into an unprecedented panic. The three supreme gods of the Divine Lord's estate, Xian Yi, Xia Yi, and Huang Wei, had appeared at the scene to direct the somewhat flustered people in the Divine Lord's estate. When the three of them saw the God Lord's estate that had been completely destroyed, they felt a headache coming on. In fact, it wasn't entirely true to say that the appearance was completely different, because the main building of the god's manor was not too seriously damaged. There were only some small cracks in some places. However, the originally magnificent god's manor was now completely black from the explosion. In the dark clouds and heavy rain, it looked even more desolate. Anyone who saw it would know that it had just been destroyed. What made the three of them even more frustrated was that while they were worrying about the construction of the God Lord's estate, explosions continued to ring out one after another. This fact made them extremely depressed. "Your Excellency Xian Yi, you can't do this. We have to think of something. If this continues, the God Lord's estate will be destroyed." Huang Wei looked at Xian Yi Dao worriedly. In fact, he was more worried about the Divine Master's anger. "Does Your Excellency Huang Wei have any good ideas?" Xian Yi looked at Huang Wei without a change in expression and asked indifferently. At this time, he was expressionless, but in reality, his heart was already in turmoil. This was because he knew that the commotion these few days was caused by that girl. Although these disturbances would cause him to be badly battered, he could not help but admire that girl's courage and reckless actions. She even dared to mess with the people of the Divine Lord's estate and blow up the Divine Lord's estate. What else was there that she didn't dare to do? AI, we can only make a decision after seeing how much damage the God Lord's estate has suffered. When Huang Wei heard Xian Yi's words, he sighed helplessly. What good idea could he have? If he had a way, would he still ask Xian Yi? Yes. Huang Wei's words made Xian Yi and Xia Yi nod their heads at the same time. Then, the atmosphere between the three of them became heavy. However, although the three of them didn't say anything, they were all thinking about how to deal with this matter and how to prevent it from affecting them. However, they also knew that it was absolutely impossible to not take responsibility for such a big matter. It was just a matter of how much responsibility he had. At this moment, a guard came to report the casualties. The three of them were shocked when they heard this. Why are there casualties? After hearing the guard's words, Xian Yi hurriedly asked. As far as he knew, most of those explosive balls were in the corners, so no one should have been injured. When we were searching, an explosive ball happened to explode. Someone couldn't dodge in time, so he was injured by the explosion. The guard explained gloomily. Oh, were they seriously injured? Did you take any healing pills? Xian Yi asked with concern. They've already eaten. However, their injuries haven't fully recovered yet. The guard reported. How did this happen? Xian Yi frowned. There's some substance in those exploding balls that can restrain the healing of wounds, so our healing pills have no effect on those injuries. The guard said honestly. Then what should we do? When Huang Wei heard this, he also started to worry. At this moment, he saw a guard supporting Huang Shou as they walked over. When he saw that Huang Shou's face was a bloody mess and his body was covered in wounds, he almost jumped out of his skin in shock. Fuck! The person who had been blown up like a ghost was Huang Shou. If he wasn't very familiar with Huang Shou, he wouldn't have been able to tell that the man who had been blown up into a humanoid shape was Huang Shou. However, this was too tragic. When he saw the grievance in Huang Shou's dim eyes, he really wanted to beat up this idiot. Idiot! Why didn't you hide when you knew there was danger? Why was he still charging forward? Huang Shou was his descendant, and a descendant he liked very much. Therefore, out of his love for Huang Shou, he did not expect Huang Shou to work hard in the Divine Master's estate or enjoy glory. As long as he could keep his life, it would be fine. But now, what had this guy done? Looking at the unfriendly eyes of his ancestor, Huang Shou felt wronged. He listened to his ancestor and hid when he was in danger. Unfortunately, he hid in the wrong place where the exploding ball was thrown. So he was in a tragedy. Old ancestor. Huang Shou had just called out, but he swallowed the words he was about to say under Huang Wei's glare. Woo! He felt that he had been too pitiful recently. That ugly monster bullied him, and now the old ancestor was also blaming him. However, Huang Wei was not in the mood to care about his own junior. Instead, he ordered the guard who was supporting Huang Shou, "Why did you bring him here? Hurry up and take the injured back to their rooms to recuperate." In fact, he wanted to send Huang Shou back to recuperate, but he was afraid that it would give others a reason to accuse him. So he had to bring everyone. "Yes, yes, sir," the guard replied. Actually, he felt quite aggrieved because it was Exalt Huang who insisted on coming to see His Excellency Huang Wei. He couldn't just stop him from coming. He couldn't afford to offend her because she had a strong backing. However, it was wrong to come. He really felt that he was unlucky enough. Although he thought so in his heart, he still accepted his fate and helped Huang Shou, who was like a wronged little wife, back to his residence. Chapter 2038, Venting 2. After they left, Xianyi glanced at Huang Wei disapprovingly, hiding his resentment. "Why are you so fierce to Huang Shou? He didn't want to get hurt. I'll definitely report this to the Divine Master and reward him for his hard work. You should be proud of your descendant's achievement, shouldn't you?" Xiayi also echoed in agreement. Huang Wei didn't have much of an aversion to Xianyi's words. However, Xiayi's words made him feel as if he was being mocked. His heart felt uncomfortable, as if it was being pricked by needles. When Xianyi saw Huang Wei's expression, he knew that this guy was at odds with Xiayi again. Sigh. These two people. He wasn't young anymore, but why was he still acting like a child? So childish? Cough, cough. After coughing a few times, Xianyi, who was afraid that the two of them would fight, glanced at Huang Wei and said, "Your Excellency Huang Wei, you should come with me to see the situation personally. Your Excellency Xiayi will stay here and guard the place." After he finished speaking, he did not wait for the two of them to react and pulled Huang Wei away. However, even if he didn't leave in such a hurry, Huang Wei and Xiayi wouldn't have too much of an opinion about his arrangements. After all, the relationship between the two of them was like fire and water. If they dragged Xianyi into this and the three of them fell out, even the Divine Lord would have a headache. Therefore, Xianyi had always been the target of the two of them. Unfortunately, Xianyi was very slippery. No matter how they tried to please him, he had always maintained his neutral position. Although they were helpless about this, they also felt relieved. The two of them walked around the Divine Lord's estate, their hearts growing heavier. Although the main building of the God Lord's manor was not too damaged, the courtyard was so badly destroyed that it was unsightly. Seeing this, the two of them knew that the Divine Master would definitely be furious. Therefore, they turned around and called Xiayi. The three of them then went to see the Divine Master, who knew that when Fog Eyes heard their report, she didn't say a word. Instantly, the three of them couldn't quite grasp what the God Lord was thinking. Even if you're angry, shouldn't you at least give a reaction? However, her current appearance made the three of them feel even more uneasy. Could this be the calm before the storm? In fact, how could Wu Xian not know the current situation of the Divine Lord's estate? However, even though she knew, she could not do anything about it. Moreover, when she discovered the abnormality, the God Lord's estate was almost destroyed. Therefore, she had no other way but to be angry. At this moment, although she didn't say a word, her heart was already in turmoil. The flames of anger in her heart had already burned into monstrous flames. However, the more furious she was, the calmer she appeared on the surface. However, her calmness on the surface made Xianyi and the other two at a loss. Although they were reverent God-level experts, and the Divine Master was usually respectful to them, they knew that they were always on the fiery mountain. The Divine Master's temper was unstable, and who knew when he would explode? Now, they could feel chills running down their spines just by standing in front of the Divine Master. After a long time, "I already know the situation," said Wu Cheng. "Comfort the injured and find someone to repair the damaged parts of the Divine Master's estate. I want to see the Divine Master's estate restored to its original state within 3 days." "Yes, yes," the three of them replied. Then they turned around and left. As they left, The three of them let out a long sigh of relief. They had finally passed this stage. The Divine Master would probably not take it out on them. In fact, they were overthinking it. No matter how angry Wuhan was, she would not bear to vent her anger on the Reverend God-level expert. After all, the Reverend God-level expert was the symbol of the Divine Master's estate. If there was no Reverend God-level expert in the Divine Master's estate, she, as the Divine Master, would be despised by others. Therefore, the Reverend God-level expert was absolutely safe in front of her. However, even though the Reverend God was safe, it didn't mean that she wouldn't vent her anger on others. Thinking of this, the fog immediately disappeared. A white light flashed, and in the next second, Wu Jing appeared in a gray room. As she walked closer, the fog in the room automatically dispersed, and the whole room appeared in front of her eyes. It was a prison cell. However, it was not an ordinary prison cell. This was because this prison cell was located in a certain space, and the prisoners locked up here were naturally the most important. There were dozens of stone pillars in this cell, and a person was tied to each stone pillar. There were both men and women, and most of them were unconscious. Their faces were pale, and their clothes were not covering their bodies. They were covered in wounds, old and new, and many of them were old injuries from the years of the formation. The person in charge of this prison cell was a black-clothed man. After seeing Wu Xiao, he quickly came forward and said with a flattering expression, "Master, how come you have time to come over today? I'm here to see if you've been slacking off." Wu Yin glanced at her subordinate and said indifferently, "Master, how could this servant dare to be lazy? This servant has always strictly followed Master's orders. Every day, I torture these people and drain their blood. They'll be careful and conscientious, and I want dare to slack off in the slightest." The man in black said with a serious face. He hated that he couldn't take out his heart and liver to show Wu Jing to prove that what he said was true, because if he did, he would have to die. "You're done with today, S?" she asked in a soft voice, but her face was expressionless, making the black-clothed man unable to guess what her master meant. "I just finished," the man in black said hurriedly. "Then let's do it again. I want to operate it myself," laughed Ripple Mist coldly. "Yes, I'll prepare the tools for Master," the black-clothed man immediately said after hearing Wu Xian's words. The prisoners who had heard their conversation glared at Wu Chun. Unfortunately, they could not speak because Wu Chun did not like to hear their voices. Therefore, they were all fed mute medicine. However, even if they could not speak, it could not stop them from expressing their anger. "Yo," staring at me again? When Wu Yin saw the expressions of those people, she smiled charmingly. "Master, do you want to dig out all their eyes?" The man in black suggested. Although his strength was not high, his methods were too vicious. Otherwise, his master would not have let him manage these important prisoners. Here he could display his strength. After all, he loved to torture people the most, especially when no matter how he tortured her, he couldn't kill her. That was why he liked it even more. After all, torturing people was also a kind of realm. He believed that he had reached the peak of this realm, which was also something he was most proud of. No need. I want to keep their eyes open and let them see how glorious I am, how I will laugh at the entire divine world. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Kiran laughed wildly. Seeing these people, her mood improved. However, her arrogant words only made those people's eyes even angrier, while Fog Ripple laughed even more happily when she saw this. Chapter 2039. Venting 3. At this time, the black-clothed man had already prepared the tools for torture. The most common instruments of torture were whips and iron pincers. After the man in black brought the instruments of torture to Wu Chun, Wu Chun ordered, "Wake the others up." "Yes." After the black-robed man responded, he immediately fed the unconscious people a pill. That pill was only a primary level healing pill. It could relieve some of their pain, but it was impossible to completely cure them. And it was by relying on these pills that had little effect that they had to endure the torture of darkness day after day, year after year. Originally, there were more than that number of people. However, Over the years, many of them had fallen. They did not even have the chance to reincarnate, because these devils would not let go of the souls of their companions. Those people had disappeared from this world forever. When the unconscious people woke up and saw the fog, they had the same expression as those who still had a trace of consciousness, which was anger. He was extremely angry. If they weren't being controlled, they would have swallowed the fog without hesitation. However, when she saw everyone's expression, her mood was surprisingly good. Wu Xian came to a tall and strong man. She reached out her hand and gently touched the man's injured body, but the man did not even look at her. Although the man's injuries were not light, one could still see his handsome figure. However, after suffering for so many years, his appearance now looked like an old man in his 60s or 70s, giving people the feeling that he was a candle in the wind. If it was not for his tall figure, straight posture, and sharp eyes, he would be an old man. Although he didn't even look at Wu Jing, the disdain in his eyes was unconcealed, and the cold air around him became more and more intense. When Ripple Miss saw this, she laughed. "Little Qingyang, do you hate me? AI, I'm so sad." There was a charming smile on Wu Yan's face, but her tone was resentful. However, the man still did not have any reaction and did not look at her. "Do you want to know where your senior brother is? A while ago, he specially came to save you." Kiran was neither angry nor annoyed as she continued to speak with hidden bitterness. These words finally caused the man to have a slight reaction, but that reaction was only faint. However, at this time, the man named Qin Yang was already so excited that he could not control himself. Senior brother is here? How is Shi Xiao now?" Although Qin Yang was very concerned about his senior brother's condition, he knew that he couldn't ask. Once he asked, he would have fallen into this vicious woman's trap. He would be led by the nose by this woman. So, although he was extremely excited, he didn't dare to show any abnormalities or reveal any clues. However, although Qin Yang's reaction wasn't big, Wu Yin was well aware that he was very concerned about that bastard's whereabouts. Qin Yang definitely couldn't hide this from her. Then, she continued, "Bing Yao is injured, and it's not a light injury. He was poisoned by my flower poison. Do you know what will happen to you? It won't be long before he becomes my most loyal slave. However, compared to him, I still feel more sorry for you. I didn't use any flower poison on you, nor did I make you my slaves. I'm fine." Wu Yin began to take credit. Hearing her words, Qin Yang really wanted to curse. "You're good, my ass. He didn't use the flower poison on us because he wanted to torture us and treat us as his mobile blood bank. He knew very well that once they were poisoned by the flower poison, unless they died, it would be impossible for Wu Chun to torture them in this way. Now, Wu Chun could do whatever he wanted." Wu Cheng's words made him worry about his senior brother. Although they had suffered all kinds of torture here, they had not lost their nature after all. If their senior brother really became Wu Han's slave, as Wu Han had said, they were afraid that their senior brother would be in so much pain that he would wish he were dead. Although he doubted the authenticity of Wu Yin's words, he also knew that Wu Xian had no need to lie to a prisoner like him. Something must have really happened to his senior brother. Thinking of his senior brother, he then thought of his master, and his heart suddenly ached. Seeing Qin Yang, who had always been calm and composed, suddenly show an expression of pain, Ripple Mist was excited. Oomph. She was still pretending to be unconcerned, but now she couldn't keep pretending anymore. However, she didn't want Qin Yang to continue ignoring her like this. So, after taking the whip from the man in black, she directly swung it at Qin Yang. With a pa sound, a deep bloody mark appeared on Qin Yang's body. But at this moment, Qin Yang seemed to not feel any pain as his entire body and mind were immersed in the past. He thought of his master, senior brother, and many other people and beasts. And all the happiness and beauty in the past had been destroyed by this greedy woman in front of him. He hated it. Seeing that Qin Yang was immersed in his own thoughts, Wu Xian whipped him a few more times. In an instant, Qin Yang's body was covered in wounds again, and bright red blood flowed down from the wounds. Wu Xian stretched out her jade-like fingers, touched the fresh blood, and put it into her mouth. The delectable taste of the blood caused her to close her eyes. The continuous pain in his body also woke Qin Yang up. Qin Yang felt like vomiting when he saw the fog sucking his blood and showing an excited look. This woman was too disgusting. At the same time, Qin Yang really vomited, and this scene caused the anger in Ripple Mist's heart to explode. The whips mercilessly whipped Qin Yang's body, and very quickly. Qin Yang was beaten into a pulp. However, he still gritted his teeth and did not even frown because he was already used to such torture. It wasn't until Qin Yang fainted that Wu Xiao unwillingly threw away the whip in her hand. Seeing that Wu Xiao obviously hadn't had enough fun, the black-clothed man handed over a torch in a timely manner. "You want me to burn him to death? I can't bear to." Qin Yang's temperament was somewhat similar to US, so she also had a special feeling for Qin Yang. Unfortunately, Qin Yang didn't know what was good for him. He would rather be tortured by her than stay by her side and become her exclusive property. Therefore, it could be said that she loved and hated Qin Yang. Of course not. "Master, Qin Yang has fainted. This subordinate wants you to wake him up." The man in black laughed. He knew that his master had not had enough fun. Therefore, he would naturally do his best to provide the most perfect service to his master. The torch that he handed over was actually one of the many punishments. As long as the torch lit the stone pillar and burned it red, forget about fainting, even if it was dead, it would be roasted until it woke up. After Wu Jing understood the man in black's meaning, she returned the torch to him and said, "I can do this to others, but I won't allow it to happen to him. You are also not allowed to use this punishment on him in the future." She still couldn't bear to see Qin Yang. "Yes," the man in black replied fearfully. In fact, he could tell that his master was still reluctant to part with this pretty boy. However, this pretty boy did not appreciate his master's kindness, so his master had ordered them to punish him. Compared to the others, the punishment they gave Qin Yang was considered light. After thinking about this, the black-clothed man respectfully retreated to the side. As for Wu Xian, she took out a medicinal pill, opened Qin Yang's mouth, and fed it. Not long after, Qin Yang woke up. "My heart ached when I saw you unconscious." The expression on her face was charming and charming. If it were any other man, they would have been mesmerized by her. Unfortunately, she had met Qin Yang. Qin Yang, who wanted to vomit whenever he saw her, would not even give her a good look, let alone fall in love with her. Moreover, he and Wu Yan had known each other for many years. This woman's character could not be hidden from him at all. Therefore, he despised Rime Ice from the bottom of his heart. When she saw that Qin Yang had only rolled his eyes at her, the anger in her heart burned even more fiercely. However, she did not want to torture Qin Yang anymore. She wanted Qin Yang to watch her torture others. With this thought in mind, Wu Chan immediately said to the black-robed man, not far away, "Bring the torch over." "Yes." After listening to Wu Xian's instructions, the man in black quickly brought a burning torch. The man in black, who thought that Wu Xian had changed her mind, saw with his own eyes that Wu Xian had set the stone pillar next to Qin Yang on fire. Suddenly, the man in black felt a chill in his heart. It seemed that he would have to be more merciful to Qin Yang in the future. The stone pillar next door that had been lit up quickly turned red, and hoarse roars of pain reached the ears of the people present. They were furious. However, even more people closed their eyes. They could not bear to see such a cruel scene. They had long been used to it. They were all cultivators. Although the torture was brutal, it only caused them superficial wounds, which were really nothing to them. The hoarse cry of pain lasted for a while before it disappeared. Everyone knew that the person had fainted from the pain. After doing all this, Wu Yan's anger was somewhat vented, but she was still not satisfied. Her beautiful eyes stared at the other people present. This time, she chose a woman. It was said that the opposite sex attracted each other, and the same sex repelled each other. There seemed to be an inextinguishable hatred between Wu Cheng and the woman. Even the way she looked at the woman was filled with hatred. However, when the woman saw Wu Xiao's expression, she smiled brightly. She really wanted to ask, "Do you hate me?" Chapter 2040, God Protecting Tower. 1. Seeing the woman's provocative gaze, the anger in her heart multiplied. Seeing her like this, the woman could not help but laugh. Ha ha ha! The woman laughed very proudly, and her scarred face looked even uglier because of her smile. Are you very happy? I don't know if you can still smile when you see your current appearance. Wu Yin suppressed the anger in her heart and said indifferently. When the woman heard her words, she didn't seem to care at all and laughed even more wildly. Yes, she had become ugly. Her face and body were covered in wounds. But so what? The person in her heart was no longer around. Even if she had a peerless face, who could she show it to? Therefore, she no longer cared about it. What she wanted to see the most now was what happened to Rhyme. She hoped that Rhyme would be even worse than her current state. Seeing that the woman only smiled, Wu Xiao continued. You're still so happy even though you've become an ugly monster. I really don't know what you're thinking. Wu Qin, even if I'm an ugly monster, I'm still happier than you. At least, master you won't hate me. Do you still have a face to see master you? Although they couldn't speak, in fact, they could still communicate through voice transmission. It was just that it would consume divine power. Therefore, in order to live longer and to see Wu Qin's fate one day, they tried their best to remain silent. However, at this moment, she couldn't bear it anymore. Don't mention him. Don't mention him. He was already dead. He had already disappeared from this world forever. You won't be able to see him anymore. I won't be able to see you anymore. The woman's words touched Wu Yan's sore spot, causing her to roar madly. In her heart, she could mention you and think of you, but she would not allow anyone to mention it in front of her. This woman had obviously violated her taboo. In the next second, the whips hit the woman's body as densely as raindrops. In an instant, the woman's blood splattered everywhere, and the fine pieces of flesh brought down by the barbs of the whips flew in the air. However, the woman gritted her teeth and resisted the urge to cry out. Her eyes were filled with deep hatred as she looked at Wu Jing. She knew that Wu Yin hated her because she was the only woman by Lord Ye's side other than Wu Yin. However, she was only Lord Ye's subordinate, while Wu Yin was Lord Ye's sister in name. Therefore, in reality, she was also jealous of Wu Yin. She admitted that she had caused trouble for the Fog Ripple in the past, but she had never thought of taking the Fog Ripple's life. Now, she regretted it. If she had known that the Fog Ripple would betray Suryu, she would have ruthlessly gotten rid of this woman back then. Then, Suryu would not have fallen. What a pity. There was no medicine for regret in this world. She had already tasted the evil consequences of cutting the grass and not removing the roots, but it was too late to say anything now. At this moment, she hated herself. She hated it so much that she was already numb to the pain in her body. Gradually, the pain intensified, and she could not bear it anymore and fainted. However, she did not make a sound from beginning to end. Seeing that the woman had fainted, Fog Ripple directly took a torch and lit the stone pillar. After a while, the woman woke up from the pain. Then, a rain of whips hit her body. However, she had long been numb. How could the pain of the body compare to the pain of the heart? Don't you feel pain? Did it really not hurt? Call it out. Scream. Seeing that the woman was holding on, the anger in Fog Ripple's heart had no way to be vented. Her slightly better mood was now in a mess again. The whips she hit the woman's body became more and more powerful, but the woman still did not make a sound. Seeing this scene, the black-clothed man's back broke out in cold sweat. He knew that his master hated this woman, so every time he tortured this woman, he would be the most severe. But compared to his master, the black-clothed man felt that he was still too kind, because in less than a quarter of an hour, the woman was already a bloody mess, and her human form could not be seen. If this continued, would that woman still be alive? The man in black was even more speechless when he heard his master making the woman scream. The people here had all been fed mute medicine, so it would be difficult for his master's wish to hear the woman's voice to come true. Even if these people screamed out in pain, it was not the normal ah-ah, It was an extremely unpleasant and hoarse voice. It was simply unbearable to the ears. Thinking of this, the man in black suppressed the fear in his heart and reminded, "Master, they've all been fed medicine. They can't make any pleasant sounds." The man in black spoke with great hidden meaning, and his eyes were full of respect as he looked at Wu Chun. However, in fact, his heart had been trembling the whole time because the man in front of him was too temperamental. "Oh, I forgot about that. How about this? Give them the antidote immediately. I want to hear them scream in pain." Wu Xin thought for a moment and ordered. "Yes." The man in black hurriedly responded, but he couldn't help but feel disgusted in his heart. It was really difficult to serve such a master. She was also the one who didn't want them to make a sound because of the noise. She was also the one who wanted to hear them scream in pain. She was really not ordinary. However, he could only think about these things in his heart. He definitely didn't dare to say it out loud. Otherwise, he would be the one who would lose his life. After the men in black fed the prisoners the antidote one by one, the curses in the prison cell continued. When Ripple heard these curses, she actually laughed very happily. When the men in black saw this, they couldn't help but feel disgusted. "What a pervert! Bitch, you still have the face to laugh." Hearing Wu Xiao's wild laughter, the imprisoned people became even angrier and cursed even more harshly. "What are you talking to a slut about?" One of the men said weakly. "Yup, talking to her would only dirty our mouths, so we ignored her and only scolded her. Ha ha ha, bitch, ungrateful wolf. We won't let you off even if we die." For a moment, voices filled with hatred sounded in the cell. However, Wu Yan didn't care at all. The fiercer these people scolded, the happier she was. At least, she had achieved her goal. However, those people only cursed for a while before all of them shut their mouths and refused to say another word. Seeing this, Wu Jing couldn't help but roar, "Curse! You guys can continue scolding." Only when she heard them scolding her would she feel that she was valued. Therefore, she had to admit that she was indeed a little perverted. "Scolding you will dirty our mouths," someone said with a look of disdain. Just now, they were just venting. Now that they had scolded enough, they naturally wouldn't let Wu Chun, who obviously hadn't heard enough of their scolding, get what she wanted. "Weren't you guys having a good time cursing just now? Continue scolding. Come, continue scolding. It'll kill anyone who doesn't tea." Ripple Mist glared at him with her beautiful eyes. "You want to hear me scold you?" "I'm sorry, we don't have time to scold you." Someone else said. "Then you can all go to hell." Wu Yan's anger burned. Immediately, two tentacles as thick as a baby's arm reached out to two of them and deeply stabbed into their bodies. In an instant, the two of them immediately shriveled up and became dry corpses. The two of them had also died. When everyone saw this scene, they knew that even their souls had been absorbed by the fog. This scene was not unfamiliar to them. So, they only looked at the two of them miserably before they turned their heads and closed their eyes. Chapter 2041, God Protecting Tower 2. They had already made up their minds to die. Feeling the determination in their hearts, Wu Cheng was depressed because she found that she seemed to have overreached herself. Killing two people was just to kill the chicken to warn the monkeys. However, these monkeys were obviously not afraid of death. Therefore, not only did her scare not have any good effect, but it also made them more determined to die. However, how could Fog bear to let them die? She knew better than anyone that it would be the best for her if these people were alive. This was because these people were her inexhaustible source of energy, and the strength of these people was also what she coveted. Therefore, they cannot die. Thinking of this, Wu Jing called over the man in black and ordered, "Look after these people. The rest of them are not allowed to die." "Yes." The man in black hurriedly replied carefully. He did not want to become his master's fertilizer, so naturally, whatever his master said, he would firmly and strictly follow. After giving her instructions, Wu Yin was ready to leave. She had just absorbed some nutrients, so she had to go back and cultivate in seclusion to properly digest them. Although it had been a long time, the strength of those two people was still extraordinary. Therefore, it would probably take a few days to completely absorb their strength. At the same time, the fog disappeared. Seeing that Wu Xian had left, the man in black wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and heaved a long sigh of relief. Only then did he realize that his clothes had long been drenched. The next day, when Lung Ruoxue and the demon came out of the room, the explosion in the Divine Master's residence had almost ended. However, Lung Ruoxue would not let them stop just like that. Every time she saw them repairing a place, Lung Ruoxue would personally go over and place an explosive ball. Hence, the sound of explosions in the Divine Master's residence never stopped. The little beasts were having fun playing this game, but the people in the Divine Master's estate were all frowning and depressed. They didn't know which fearless god of plague the Divine Master's estate had provoked. He had actually come to the Divine Lord's estate again and again to cause trouble. What was even more infuriating was that they couldn't catch him at all. Just like that, the Divine Master's estate was filled with dark clouds. Everyone's faces were as black as if their own father had died. As the three reverent god-level experts, they felt an unprecedented pressure, especially Huang Wei and Xia Yi. The two of them had gone from being incompatible like fire and water to being partners with a smile. This showed the impact of this incident on the people of the Divine Master's estate. Xian Yi, who knew the truth, could only sigh with them every day with a sad face. He didn't dare to show any difference, but in fact, he admired that little girl more and more. That girl was really bold. Even he couldn't help but be surprised. However, knowing that the Divine Master was in seclusion for the time being, Xian Yi thought of a way to secretly inform Lung Ruoxue and the others about this. When Lung Ruoxue and the rest heard this, they did not take action immediately. They were afraid that Wu Xian was deliberately mystifying the situation to lure the snake out so that they would walk right into the trap. In the bracelet, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were sitting in the garden, casually chatting. Girl, Wu Yin is in closed-door cultivation. This is a good opportunity for us. Uncle Long said after some thought. I know that too. However, why would Wu Xian go into seclusion at this time? Now that the God Lord's estate is in such a mess, isn't it suspicious that she's in closed-door cultivation? Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. It's a little suspicious, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Regardless of whether the news of Fog Ripple's seclusion is suspicious or not, I think we should go and try. Uncle Long suggested. The reason why he said this was because of Green Vessel. Otherwise, he would not have dared to take such a risk. All right then. Lung Ruoxue glanced at the evildoer before nodding. She had wanted to observe for a few more days, but since Uncle Long wanted to make a move, they would go and take a look. At that time, it would be clear at a glance whether Wu Han was really in seclusion or trying to lure them out. Sister, I don't recommend going to that secret room now. At this time, Qing Ju, who had been listening on the side, suddenly spoke. He knew that his sister and the others wanted to take advantage of the fog to enter the secret room. However, let's not talk about whether it was true or not. He felt that this matter was not that simple, because based on his understanding of Fog did not seem like someone who would enter seclusion at this time. With Fog's character, she should be furious at this time and should be venting her anger on the unlucky guy. Qingju understood rhyme very well. She had looked for someone to vent her anger on. However, because she had absorbed the energy of two people, she had no choice but to go into seclusion to digest it. However, Lung Ruoxue and the rest did not know about this. What they didn't know was that after Wu Yin absorbed the energy from the two people, there was a deviation in her digestion. A small accident happened because she was poisoned. This fact made Ripple Mist extremely angry. She thought that she was the ancestor of poison, and there was nothing more poisonous than her in this world. However, she was poisoned while absorbing someone else's energy. This result was simply unacceptable to her. What was even more troublesome was that the poison had been running around in her body and showed signs of assimilating her blood. This discovery made her a little afraid. After all, the blood in her body was extremely important to her. It could be considered the source of all her power. She had gone through a lot of trouble to purify her blood to its current purity. How could she allow those dirty things to taint her blood? Therefore, for the past few days, she had been fighting against the strange poison. Of course, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were not aware of her current situation. Otherwise, they would not have let go of such a good opportunity. When Lung Ruoxue heard Qingju's words, she smiled and asked, "Qingju, do you have any good ideas?" "Sister, I want to build the God-protecting pagoda first," Qingju said bluntly. God-protecting pagoda? What is that place? This was the first time Lung Ruoxue had heard of this term. However, it was obvious that Uncle Long and Ao Jia had heard of this place before. After hearing what Qingju had to say, both of their faces turned solemn. The God-protecting pagoda is a pagoda that protects the safety of the divine world. Like me, it's an innate divine weapon born in the chaos. However, the God-protecting pagoda has no owner. Therefore, I would like Sister to build the God-protecting pagoda first. I hope that the God-protecting pagoda will recognize Sister as its master. Qingju stated his purpose and then looked at Lung Ruoxue with a hopeful expression. When Uncle Long and Ao Jia heard what Qingju said, they could not help but gasp. They thought to themselves, this little fellow is so ambitious. Everyone in the divine world knew that the God-protecting pagoda was an innate divine weapon. The previous divine lord, Lord Yu, had also said that the God-protecting pagoda would only belong to those who were fated to obtain it. Therefore, there were countless gods who went to the God-protecting pagoda every day to try and see if it could recognize an owner. Unfortunately, after tens of millions of years, the God-protecting pagoda still remained ownerless. Chapter 2042, God-Protecting Tower 3. Sister, the God-Protecting Pagoda should belong to you, but that fellow is too arrogant. It's extremely difficult to obtain his approval, but he's very useful. That's why I want you to give it a try now. If he can recognize you as his master, it'll be relatively easier for us to find the petals of the miasma mist. Qingju explained. In fact, the God-Protecting Pagoda was the same as the universal bracelet. They were both naturally owned by the Divine Master. In this way, the Divine Master could better manage the divine world. Unfortunately, the God-Protecting Pagoda spirit was a very difficult guy. Although he could listen to the Divine Master's orders, he had no intention of recognizing a master. This was because he had said that he wanted to find a master he liked. As for the laws of heaven and earth, he had never paid attention to them. From this, it could be seen how willful he was. It was because he had never thought about how much trouble his master would bring to the divine realm if he was not the master of the divine realm. It would be fine if the other party did not have any ambitions. However, if the other party had ambitions, then the divine realm would be in great chaos. However, he had never thought about these things because he knew in his heart that protecting the divine realm was his natural responsibility. Even the laws of the heaven and earth would not dare to punish him for not recognizing him as a master. Thus, he was fearless. With his personality, you, who was relatively gentle, wouldn't care about him at all. However, Wuyan had a lot of headaches because of him. After listening to Qingju's detailed explanation of the God's Guardian Tower, Lung Ruoxue felt a little conflicted. Even though she was interested in the God's Guardian Tower, she was not sure if it would recognize her as its master. If she were to draw water from a wicker basket and delay her from saving her senior brother, it would not be worth it. Qingju understood Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, so he continued to persuade her, "Sister, the spirit of the God-protecting tower has never played by the rules, so I'm not sure what kind of difficult questions I'll give you. However, you don't have to worry about one thing. After entering the God-protecting tower, time will stop, so it won't take much time. Originally, I was planning to wait until you're stronger before going there to try, but now it seems that it's better to go first. If you can really obtain his approval, it'll definitely be a great help for us, and it'll be easier to find the petals of the miasma. If he recognizes me as his master, can he really help me find the flower petals of rime ice?" Lung Ruoxue confirmed, half believing and half doubting. "I can't say for sure that he can help us, but no one can compare to him in terms of understanding of the divine realm. Moreover, he's not sealed and is still in his prime. So, he's the most suitable person to help us. Qingju promised. Actually, he had thought about it for a few days before he decided to let his sister obtain the recognition of the god pagoda. Although the timing was not right, he could only do this for his sister's safety. Why don't you go and try? After hearing Qingju's words, Uncle Long also advised. In reality, as a divine beast that had lived for a long time in the divine world, he knew very well how difficult it was to deal with the god-protecting tower spirit and how annoying it was. However, there was no doubt about that fellow's strength. However, if Shue-er went now, she would probably be looked down upon by the tower spirit. Therefore, he was a little worried that Shue-er would not be able to withstand the tower spirit's humiliation. This was also the main reason for his hesitation. However, after thinking about it, he felt that it would be best to give it a try. Being scolded wouldn't hurt her anyway, and once Shue was acknowledged by the tower spirit, it would definitely be a great thing for her. Are you serious, old whale? Don't you know how vicious the tower spirit's mouth is? How dare you let the little girl go? Ao Jie's eyes widened in disbelief when he heard what Uncle Dragon said. It doesn't matter if I try. It's not like I'll lose a piece of meat. Moreover, as a person from the divine realm, who wouldn't want to become the master of the god protecting pagoda? Therefore, if we don't seize the time to try it now, we won't have the chance to do so after the god-protecting tower has found an owner. Uncle Long said matter-of-factly. But Ao Jie was about to retort when he was interrupted by Uncle Long. No, but go and try. Uncle Dragon glared at Ao Jie, forcing him to swallow his words. In fact, he wanted to say that Shue-er would definitely be scolded if she went because anyone who was not a divine emperor would be ruthlessly humiliated by the tower spirit. Although divine emperors would also be scolded, the scolding would be relatively light. The only ones who would not be scolded would probably be hierarch experts. However, this was not absolute. He had personally seen a hierarch being scolded by the tower spirit in public. In the end, that hierarch had never appeared in the divine world. Then I'll go and try. Seeing that Uncle Long had agreed, Lung Ruoxue could only agree. On the other hand, Green Vessel was a man of action. The moment Lung Ruoxue made her decision, he immediately brought them away from the unlucky Divine Master's residence and headed to the God Guardian Tower. The location of the God-protecting tower was also within the Imperial City. However, the God-protecting tower was a guy that guarded the territory, and no creatures were allowed to live in his territory. Therefore, back then, you had to give half of the Imperial City to the God-protecting tower. However, his location was relatively remote, and this was also what he had requested. When they were still some distance away from the God Protection Pagoda, Qingju took advantage of the fact that no one was around to teleport Lung Ruoxue and the other three out of the bangle. Then, Uncle Long brought them to the foot of the God Protection Pagoda. The God Protecting Pagoda was located on the mountainside of a mountain in the outskirts of Imperial City. When they arrived at the God Protecting Pagoda, Lung Ruoxue realized that there was no one else around other than the four of them. Even though it was a little strange, she could not help but exclaim in surprise as she looked at the God-protecting pagoda that towered into the clouds and could not even see the tip of the pagoda. This God-protecting pagoda is so tall. It's so magnificent. Of course, I'm a #1 pagoda in the divine realm. Right at this moment, a rather cocky voice entered Lung Ruoxue's ears. When she heard it, she could not help but frown. It seemed like the spirit of the God-protecting pagoda was just like what the demon had said. It liked to listen to pleasant words. But immediately after, she heard the owner of the voice curse. You idiot, trash. How can you get such a simple question wrong? What's the point of living? Don't your parents regret giving birth to you? If I were you, I would have killed myself. Hurry up and buy a piece of tofu. Hearing this scolding, Lung Ruoxue's face darkened even more. However, she knew that the spirit of the God-protecting pagoda was definitely not scolding her. She just did not know who was so unlucky to be scolded so badly. But very quickly, she saw a middle-aged man roll out from the two tightly shut doors of the tall God-Guard tower. That's right, that person had rolled out. Furthermore, he had rolled past Lung Ruoxu's feet and had rolled down the mountain. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxu couldn't help but admire the wondrous idea of the God-protecting pagoda. Needless to say, this was definitely the work of the God-protecting pagoda spirit. However, she didn't know what to say at this moment. "Beauty, are you also here to gain my approval?" Before Lung Ruoxue could think of a way to speak, the spirit of the God-protecting pagoda spoke first. Yes, I am." Lung Ruoxue nodded and automatically ignored the word beauty. Actually, she wanted to say that she was a man, at least for now. However, she didn't know if the tower spirit had the ability to see her real body. After thinking about it, she decided not to be calculative about her gender. Then quickly come in. As soon as the spirit of the God Protection Tower finished speaking, Lung Ruoxue and the others felt as if they were being pulled into the tower by a strong force. Furthermore, this force was something that they could not resist. It was only after entering the pagoda that Lung Ruoxue realized that the pagoda was filled with people. However, all of them were currently in a daze. Without exception, all of them were immersed in their own thoughts and did not notice that an outsider had arrived beside them. The God Protection Tower spirit's curses continued to ring out, causing Lung Ruoxue to facepalm. This fellow really didn't give her any face at all. Even she couldn't bear to listen to it anymore. However, it was a good thing that she wasn't being scolded at this moment. "Little girl, they should be in the middle of a trial," Uncle Long whispered to Lung Ruoxue after looking at the situation of the people present. "Oh," Lung Ruoxue nodded as her beautiful eyes swept across the people around her. These people's trials should be carried out in their divine souls. She didn't know if they would be injured because once their divine souls were injured, it would be extremely difficult to recover. Hee, don't worry, beauty, their souls won't be injured." The God Protection Tower spirit's voice rang in Lung Ruoxu's ears once more. Lung Ruoxue was instantly shocked. She never thought that this fellow would actually know what she was thinking. Sensing Lung Ruoxu's thoughts, the spirit of the God Protection Tower smiled in a very wretched manner and said, "Haha, beauty, none of your thoughts can hide from me, but don't be afraid. I won't tell anyone what you're thinking. I swear on my divine spark. How much is your divinity worth?" An extremely disdainful voice rang out. Following that, the white-robed Huan Chun appeared in the God-protecting tower. Chapter 2043, Song 1. "It's you. I was wondering who dared to talk to me like that." The spirit of the God-protecting tower seemed to be talking to itself. Furthermore, it was actually not angry. Lung Ruoxu's heart skipped a beat when she saw Huan Chun suddenly appear. She thought to herself, "Why is this fellow here again?" She was helpless against illusionary Dust's lack of control and her inability to play by the rules. After all, she had always been very tolerant of her beastie. Seeing Huan Chun's behavior, she could only classify him as a beastie. In any case, he definitely couldn't be considered human. "Little master, am not beastie." Sensing Lung Ruoxu's inner thoughts, Huan Chun hurriedly said. However, he immediately felt a pair of eyes as cold as ice flying toward his back. Instantly, his heart started beating wildly. Woo! He had forgotten that this evil man had said that he was not allowed to read Little Master's heart. Sometimes, he would read her heart in secret. This time, he had accidentally said it out loud and was caught red-handed by this evil man. Wouldn't he be dead for sure? At the thought of this, he could not help but move closer to Lung Ruoxu's side to seek protection. This evildoer should have some reservations when he was by Little Master's side, right? Huan Chun couldn't help but think to himself. In fact, he was too afraid of this monster. Other than looking at him coldly, he didn't want to do anything to him at all. At least, he didn't want to deal with him now. When Lung Ruoxue saw Huan Chun's frightened expression, she could not help but laugh in her heart. She even forgot what she wanted to say. In the end, it was Huan Chun who reminded her softly, "Little Master, "Im not beastie." Lung Ruoxue finally remembered. "It doesn't matter. I'll treat you like a beastie in the future." After hearing this, Huan Chun furrowed his brows, looking as if he had been wronged. Furthermore, just as he was about to rebut, he was interrupted by a certain inharmonious voice. "Ha ha ha! Huan Chun, I didn't expect you to have such a day. Raise it like a beast. Beauty, I like the suggestion." The Guardian Tower's spirit laughed exaggeratedly. Even though Lung Ruoxue and the others did not see the person, they could tell from the voice that the owner of the voice was extremely happy. However, they did not expect Huan Chun and the Guardian Tower's spirit to know each other. However, after thinking about it carefully, these two fellows had a very close relationship with Master Yu, so it seemed normal for the two to be familiar with each other. "It's good that you like it." Lung Ruoxue glanced at the furious Huan Chun and said speechlessly. It seemed like the spirit of the God Protection Tower and Huan Chun had similar attributes. They both did not play by the rules. Just as Lung Ruoxue finished her sentence, Huan Chun's furious voice rang out. "You damn tower spirit, come out if you have the guts. Let's fight one-on-one. Tisk, you want to fight me one-on-one, so let's fight one-on-one. I'm busy, I don't have time to talk to you. You can go play in the mud by yourself. Good boy, little Huan Chun beastie." The God-protecting tower spirit was so angry that it could kill. "Oomph. You're afraid, aren't you? You coward. Disloyal bastard. Hurry up and come out. I want to take revenge for my old master. If I don't beat you to the ground today, they'll take your surname." Huan Chun continued to provoke her. Her originally fair face was now flushed with excitement, and it gradually deepened. Hearing the conversation between the two, cold sweat broke out on Lung Ruoxue and the rest's foreheads. What was going on? Why did these two guys start hurling abuse at each other? Lung Ruoxue, who was supposed to be scolded, had no choice but to watch the show. Uncle Long and Ao Jie, who had some understanding of the tower spirit, looked at Lung Ruoxue with envy and jealousy. This girl's luck was a little too good, wasn't it? The tower spirit had never scolded her since she entered. Was it possible that the tower spirit was also a lecherous person, valuing girls over boys? But that's not right. There were also many women who had come to undergo the master recognition trial, and as far as they knew, many of them had been scolded to tears by the tower spirit. Therefore, they could not figure out. In reality, if there were any other cultivators who were clear-headed right now, they would definitely be like Uncle Long and Ao Jie. They would be extremely envious and jealous of Lung Ruoxue, because every single one of them had been cursed at, and some had even been scolded from the beginning to the end. In short, the attitude of the tower spirit towards them was very bad. If things didn't go well, it would curse them to death, and some might even punch and kick them. The tower spirit said that this was a test for them, and once the word test was mentioned, no matter how angry the other party was, they would have to be as obedient as a little white rabbit and let the spirit of the God-protecting tower do whatever it wanted. However, Lung Ruoxue wasn't aware of all this. If she knew, she would definitely think that the tower spirit was using the name of a test to deal with someone she didn't like. But in reality, she was right. The tower spirit did have this intention. "You damned old ghost. Disloyal bastard. Hurry up and get out here. Let's have a one-on-one fight." At this moment, Huan Chun, who had been cursing nonstop, saw that the spirit of the God Protection Tower had suddenly stopped responding, so he continued to provoke it. But the God Protecting Tower spirit still didn't respond. Seeing this, Huan Chun became depressed and cursed even harder. Lung Ruoxue could not help but facepalm as she looked at Huan Chun roaring like a lion. This kind of Huan Chun destroyed his image of a banished immortal in her heart. How could Huan Chun be like this? At this moment, she couldn't say what she was feeling in her heart. In short, it was a complicated feeling. Huan Chun, who had obviously peeked into Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, saw that his little master was a little depressed. He quickly consoled her. "Little master, calm down. This guy really deserved a scolding. He won't come out if I don't scold him." "Oh." Lung Ruoxue didn't know what to say and could only reply with a soft "oh." Then, the voice of the God-protecting tower spirit rang out as Huan Chun had wished. You are the one who needs a scolding. I told you I'm busy. I don't have time for you. Tisk? Busy my ass. Do you think I don't know you? Huan Chun cursed again. After he finished speaking, he even stole an apologetic glance at Lung Ruoxue. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue's reaction wasn't too big, he was relieved. What do you know about me? You only know how to sleep, you pig. The guardian spirit said with slight disdain. Ugh. The more these two guys scolded, the more angry they became. It was obvious that Uncle Long and A.O. Jie couldn't take it anymore. Uncle Long had no choice but to remind them that dream dust. Your master is here for the master recognition trial. Although Uncle Long was just reminding him, the meaning behind his words was very clear. Your master is here for the master recognition trial, but you're the one who started the fight with the master here. It's not good for your master. Master recognition trial? Find this guy? Is there a mistake? This fellow is very perverted. How could he be worthy of my perfect and lovely master? Master, let's return. This guy isn't good. He's not suitable for you. As expected, Huan Qin immediately stomped his feet when he heard Uncle Long's words. Then, he advised Lung Ruoxue earnestly not to go through the master recognition trial. However, before Lung Ruoxue could react, the spirit of the God-protecting tower heard Huan Qin's words and immediately interrupted. You are the wretched one. You are the bad one. I'm an innate divine weapon born from chaos. It's a great honor to be my master. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.